they go the other way, and it's Ebner, and he's got the touchdown.
Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Play action. Mertz floats it. End zone wide open. Jake Ferguson for the touchdown.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
On third down, wild snap. Brown fields it. Right at the line to the end zone. Touchdown, Van.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Wants to throw going left. Now he did drop the ball. Aggies have got it. And it's a touchdown. Michael Clemens.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
And here we go on a Tuesday afternoon, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Yesterday, a handful of you were asking about opening up the phone lines. Yesterday, we were loaded with guests. We are again today, but right now, off the top, 254-339-1122. Would love to hear your feedback. College basketball starts tonight. Baylor will unveil their national championship banner and the rings on Friday, opening up their season, but college basketball starting tonight. And, of course, we'll get into that as well. And also a question for you. We have been, and we have basically encompassed all of America when it comes to college football. Yes, we also are Sikkim365.com and sports with Baylor coverage in the Big 12. And do you want us to do that for college basketball? We're gonna have that. Paul, and the big one, too, that's college football, Big 12 right now, will eventually circle around into also being college basketball as well. Baylor and Oklahoma coming up on Saturday. College basketball season begins. And I saw kind of a little mini meltdown for those who have fan bases that there's always kind of an ace-type recruiter outside of the coaching staff. James Blanchard is kind of a self-made recruiter. 409 is the area code of where he's from in that Beaumont Golden Triangle. Went to the Carolina Panthers with Matt Rule after being on that staff. Came back to Baylor. He's joined Joey McGuire, who was introduced this afternoon as the new head coach at Texas Tech.
And, great for James Blanchard. That's a promotion for him. Great for Joey McGuire. I know that some people will melt down over losing assistants, but I know, and I'm going to say this, and I'm sure Baylor fans are going to snap at me, but there's a big section of them that are new to this. You're new to being big-time college football, Baylor. Really, you're kind of new money, and it's good that you're new money, but assistants come, assistants go, people move on. It's how it goes. It's the circle of life.
Yeah, James Blanchard's a loss, no doubt about that. But I think that there's probably some guys over in that recruiting room, because there was more than one person who probably take a little bit of offense at the thought that one guy leaving is suddenly going to completely derail Baylor football's recruiting. I don't expect that to be the case at all. Could he potentially, convince a couple of the current commits to join them in Raiderland? That's possible. Are there going to be some head-to-heads that they win over Baylor in the future? Sure. But that will also be, a situation where Baylor wins their fair share as well. So, they got Vince Ginta and others that I think will do just fine. Blanchard did have an incredible eye for talent and just seemed to really jive well with what Matt Rule was looking for. They seemed to be, kind of on the same page pretty early on, which is why he got the opportunity with the Carolina Panthers in their, scouting department, if you will. And that's why this is the first hire we're hearing announced for Joey McGuire. It's all about recruiting right now. They picked up 3 commits, all from Cedar Hill, his old school, just yesterday. And Blanchard will help branch that out, and I would imagine you're going to see a lot of activity on the recruiting trail, because that's why Joey's there right now. It's to fill out a staff, but it's also to get recruiting first and foremost, along with filling out the staff. But, it's a loss, but it's not one that's overcomable. And I would just say this, for anybody that reacts too much to one person or a couple people or whatever the case may be, to Paul's point, changes happen. Good coaching staffs every year, like Alabama, have to change every single season and go find another guy. And guess what? They do, time and time again. So there's more than just one recruiter out there that can do the job. But best of luck to James Blanchard. Certainly did a lot of good for Baylor. Same thing with Joey McGuire. Can't be mad at those guys for taking a great opportunity. But this team was not built based on one person or one coach, and it will continue to find success because of a group of people, not because of one person or two people. So, yeah, it's a bummer, but, Baylor's 7-2 right now, guys. They've got a top 10 team walking into town this weekend, and I think that's really the focus for Baylor football at the moment.
Yeah, by the way, when he was introduced today, and Joey McGuire at some point will join us on this show as well, but when he was introduced today, he played off of the Texas high school football edge. We've heard when we've had Jeff Traylor at UT San Antonio talking about Texas high school football and the connections. And obviously when Matt Rule arrived in 2017, one of the things he did was bring 3 high school football coaches from Texas, including Joey McGuire, David Wetzel, and Sean Bell. But one of the things that he said today, and this is, again, he's also in front of his fan base. He's also trying to send a message. He mentioned that he dares Dave Campbell's Texas Football Magazine, which is the annual preview magazine that's pretty impressive and has been coming out for years, named after the great writer from the Waco Trib and also who covered Baylor, Dave Campbell, for many, many years. He challenged them to put both Joey McGuire and Jeff Traylor on their cover of the 2022 issue. Won state titles at Gilmer, Jeff Traylor, won state titles at Cedar Hill. How do you not? If they're really talking about Texas high school football, which they're supposed to be, and it's like the Bible of Texas high school football, Jeff Traylor at UT San Antonio, Joey McGuire at Texas Tech should be on the cover because that's 2 of theirs. Well, we're going to play off of it. I'm not kidding. One of the 2, he goes, I got about 900 text messages. I bet 600 were from high school coaches saying congratulations, and that doesn't include maybe other messages. My DNA as high school coach, I would use that as well. That's what you need to do. Texas Tech has some make it up to do, and Joey McGuire mentioning that in his opening press conference today in Lubbock.
Yeah, I think that that idea makes a lot of sense. I also think it's a very smart way of Joey to get some promotion for Texas Tech. Yeah, put me on the cover. I dare you to. Yeah, put me on the cover. Well, what does that do for Joey McGuire? Not only is it a cool cover for him and Jeff Traylor, but what does it do? It puts Texas Tech when they've had no business being on the cover due to football. And look, I'm not trying to take shots. I'm just saying it puts them front and center for the first time in a long time, right? So yeah, I mean, do what you can do to drum up interest and do what you can do to play off those high school ties. And certainly he's done a lot of that already. I've seen multiple quotes regarding that. And that will be a strong suit for Texas Tech. That will be something that definitely benefits them. But yeah, I mean, it's a interesting idea on his part to mention, and certainly would be a big deal for that program in terms of just, again, drumming up that interest. So I think we're going to see over the next few months, Joey's going to do really well in recruiting, especially with the addition of James, and I imagine he's going to hire a really good staff as well. There's already a lot of big names that are being mentioned as far as who could possibly join them. So they're going to have some success. There's no doubt about it. And how well it translates obviously will be the tell. And that's going to take a while to figure out, but they're going to drum up quite a bit of attention, I think, this offseason. So just prepare yourself for that, Baylor fans, because you're going to see a lot of the Red Raiders just, media-wise, I think, over this offseason.
Yeah, and Matt Wells, I think the most distinct difference between Matt Wells and Joey McGuire you can see on the surface is Matt Wells is very laid back, easygoing. Joey McGuire, I don't think you would ever call him laid back. I don't think he's asleep, he's laid back. I mean, he's just high energy, go, 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 go all the time. And I think that's what the fan base wants to see, and I think that'll translate for them really well because, I believe in Joey McGuire's talent as a coach and a recruiter. So I think that'll work out well for them. And the kind of energy and the kind of things that, Matt Wells, and this is no knock on him, it's just not his personality, is never going to say, put me on the cover of a magazine. It's not his personality. But Joey McGuire sure as hell is, and he did. And
I bet you he's on there. Watch. I bet you anything he's on there. Him and Joey McGuire. Him and Jeff Traylor.
Here's the thing. Joey McGuire said in a press conference, if you were in an editorial meeting and somebody brought it up, most people would go, that's a pretty good idea. That's good. That's different. Because you could put Sarkisian on there or Bijan Robinson or Jimbo Fisher or, recycle A&M in Texas over and over again like they have over the years. Or you could do something that's a little bit different.
And he said, we're going to be Texas High School University. That's fine, too. He's hitting it the way you would think Joey McGuire would hit it. And Baylor's coaching staff has moved on to what they're going to do when it comes to Oklahoma and getting ready for that. And their class, as even Dave Aranda mentioned yesterday, they will continue the relationships they have. Maybe they do lose a player or two. Maybe a former player joins Texas Tech, Tyrone Brown. Maybe there's going to be some transfer portal type of movement. Okay, that's going to happen. That also opens up opportunities as well. And again, we'll have Joey McGuire on the show at some point, even if not this week, very, very soon. I just saw this on the chat room. How come Baylor does not allow access to assistant coaches? They did throughout spring drills. They did throughout parts of the summer and even at times, I believe, during media sessions in August. But Baylor's not the only program that shuts down access to assistant coaches once the season begins. It's not. We're spoiled. The Art Briles staff, I used to be able to interview, and we would get media. Used to be able to sit down one-on-one with an assistant coach every week during the season, on top of the coach. Matt Rule allowed the access as well. And here's a guy coming from like that professional football background. He allowed access to his assistant coaches. Dave Aranda has that philosophy. Nick Saban, Lane Kiffin. There are others that there's not a lot. Now, some allow coordinators to have access. And personally, I would love that because we could get answers. Not speculation or not have to look. We would know. We could ask specific questions to Jeff Grimes or to Ron Roberts or to whoever else. I liked it that way, but it's not that way across the board. But that's a good question. We appreciate that.
Yeah, some programs, I think of Oklahoma, for example. I don't know. It's hard to remember who all does it actually during the course of the season because a lot of them do it during the offseason. I'm pretty sure Oklahoma does for one, and there's possibly some others that do have their coordinators available. I think Texas may. You can correct me on that if I'm wrong. That's fine.
They allow coordinators.
Okay, yeah. So some choose to do it, and I think the deal here is that they did it last year. They did have people available, and I think the biggest thing for making that change was just to have a single message. You looked at last year, and that was a dysfunctional coaching staff. Just it didn't fit. The pieces were all wrong. You had like two different puzzle boxes, and the pieces all got scrambled up, and you tried to put it together, and obviously it wasn't going to work. And that was their coaching staff last year. Thus, the massive changes on offense in particular. But I think it was really just about creating one clear, concise message. That's my opinion. I don't know if maybe there was other reasonings for it, but that's kind of how I viewed it. And it would be nice to talk to those guys, but I don't think it's that big of a deal in the long run, and I certainly don't think it's a tell of anything in particular. I just think it was more trying to control the message, but not in a nefarious way by any means.
The last time that they did that was 2016 when they had everything blow up.
Yeah.
When Art Briles was fired, when Jim Grobe came in, Phil Bennett told Jim Grobe in a meeting, hey, I think it's better for you to be the only voice because everything they were going to say as a staff, no matter what and they were going to be asked questions, would be taken out of context or maybe just blown up. So they did not allow. Now, not just saying about me, did we have a chance on occasion to text certain coaches? Do we still do that on occasion? Yes, in a limited way. If there's just something you really would want to know or you try to go through the information person. I would like the access. I think it would help clarify certain things that either who's playing, who's not playing, why did you do this? And I probably would think it's good for the coaches if they had access as well.
I think there's a middle ground between nothing and every week. And I think that because like in the NFL, the Cowboys make Dan Quinn and Kellen Moore available once a week. And it's convenient for the people who cover the Cowboys to be able to ask them questions. And sometimes it's productive, sometimes it's not, depending on the coordinator. But they get to do that. And, yeah, I'd like to see it made available. And maybe it will in the future. But right now, Dave Aranda needed that one voice because they had some things to come through after the COVID year.
Well, I think it was that. And on the one voice, I mean, I think of the Larry Fedora, for example, when he interviewed and he was talking about how, no, I haven't watched any film. And, like, that turned into a whole thing, remember? Mm. So I think that that staff just wasn't on the same page, and I think you're just trying to keep a clear, concise message. But, maybe, again, there's also other thoughts that went into that. I wonder, too, like if, Joey McGuire being made available, and that just kind of drums up people, and puts maybe a little bit too much attention on an assistant coach as opposed to, the focus of the team or the head coach or what have you. So I could see that probably playing into it a little bit as well. You just don't want to, a situation where your assistants are are rock stars. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, that can happen. That can happen, and I'm sure that there's reasons why certain programs, or those who have been around in the business quite a long time, or those who've come from programs that did not allow access. But we had plenty of access. Like somebody was asking about Chancey Stuckey. He was available at media sessions. We had him on our show by phone. So all of them were available, but once the season starts, that has slowed down dramatically. And I did see this, though. About a week or two, and this is my personal pride here, I did see an article written about Baylor, and Jeff Grimes, I believe, maybe even Eric Mateos were quoted at least two or three times in the article. It was a national article, and that's when I get a little territorial. Wait a minute. And I get it. It's national, but we're here every day through thick and thin, and so that. But David K., if it was his brothers, I would think he would allow everybody access, like he does with all the great assistant coaches Scott Drew has on the men's basketball staff. From Wake, Wreckham, Texas Tech. Daniel, Texas Tech doesn't necessarily need them. I'm not sure exactly where
about the quarterbacks.
Okay. They have an Elite 8 true freshman, Morton, who's there. Already with Smith, 6'5", dual threat, huge arm, and Shaw.
Jacob Zeno was a Elite 8 true freshman as well, and so were like basically every other quarterback that's walked through.
And the question that brought it up now was, I bet you see a transfer of either a Charlie Brewer or Jacob Zeno. I have a feeling Charlie Brewer probably is someone that is looking at that opportunity. It depends on whether Joey McGuire and Charlie could work that out. That would not surprise me whatsoever at all.
Yeah, my mind went immediately there as well, but
do you want Charlie?
That's what I'm saying, dude. That's what I'm saying.
And it's just the product on the field now is less than what it was 2 years ago and 3 years ago, which would be when he starts. From 2019 to now is not the same thing. Charlie is not on the up physically, and I think that's the thing that would concern me.
Yeah, I mean, I think you look at Utah and the success they're having right now, and it's unfortunate. It's not just revolving all around the quarterback position, but the change to Cam Rising has made a huge difference. And I like Charlie. I'm not trying to, poo-poo on the guy at all. I'm really not. But I just think at this point, if you're Joey McGuire and you're getting this fresh start and you're getting to build this brand new thing in Lubbock and you have a young quarterback, I mean, why bring in a 1 year stopgap that, is kind of a roll of the dice at this point, quite frankly? I don't know. I mean, unless you just feel like you need quarterback depth, but as we saw at Utah, Charlie wants to be a starter.
Yeah.
And I don't know that that's guaranteed in Power 5 football for him right now. I think his best option is probably, going down a level, but maybe he's hearing otherwise. And if he is, I think that's fantastic. But, I don't know. That would not be a move I would make, but I know Joey has a good relationship with him, so it wouldn't shock me. But I wouldn't prefer that if I was a Red Raiders fan.
A couple of Red Raiders are chiming in from Blake. You want your assistants to get better jobs and better pay. You want them. Sure. That's where you put them out in front hole. Aaron Wilson, McGuire sold me today with his press conference, going to give this guy a chance. Aaron was not sold yesterday. And Wake, I'm so pumped I'm shaking. Someone needs to freaking slap me.
Although I will tell you this, don't ever let a press conference be the thing that sways you.
No.
But yes, Aaron, I think Joe McGuire is going to win every press conference ever, but don't let that be the thing. I think when you going back to Charlie Brewer real quick, the transfer portal, look at it like it's free agency, right? So look at it like free agency. When in the NFL, when you see a guy who may be a name guy come up and go, oh my God, okay, Odell Beckham right now. There's going to be teams that go sign him, and maybe Odell Beckham still has some stuff in the tank. Maybe he does. Maybe it was just that. But always ask, well, if he's so good, why is he leaving? Why is he there? This isn't just
because he's drama. He's become a drama queen. He's become Des Bryant. And I know Des produced, and I know OBJ's produced, and others, but there's just some guys that no matter what, they're going to bring drama.
Yeah, but
somebody will pick them up because they think they can contain that drama.
But in the college sense, there's Justin Fields, who went from Georgia to Ohio State because of an incident that happened at Georgia, not because he, wasn't the best quarterback on that roster, because ultimately everyone knew he was. That's an outlier. The regular ones are, these guys are available because they weren't good enough to play where they were. I mean, that's legitimately most of the people in the portal. That's legitimately most of free agency in every sport, aside from the top tier. Sometimes it's just about money and not being able to, or guys are going up and the team is in salary cap hell. But most of the time, the guys who are not, the team that had them didn't want them back.
Look, Charlie Brewer's available because he got beat out because he didn't play well at Utah. Like, that's why he's available. So if that's what, gets you burnt up and gets you excited, I think I'd rather see what Baron Morton can do, or if Tyler Shuck's coming back, or, any other number of options, any number of quarterbacks in the transfer portal. But look, if they go after Brewer, again, it will not surprise me. I hope he lands somewhere and does well there, wherever that may be. I just don't, me personally wouldn't be the route that I would go. As far as the Texas Tech fan who said he's pumped up, yeah, I can imagine. And I think, for one, even if you were already pumped up, Joey McGuire's just like on a whole different level of pumped up that, it's going to raise everybody's energy levels. And that's going to be a big key for Texas Tech, because I feel like that's been a program where there's been basically nothing to get excited about for about 3 or 4 years. I can't think of really much of anything during the Matt Wells era that really just got you stoked about Texas Tech football. Maybe a commit here and there, but then that fizzled out, and the product on the field showed, and it's been very up and down. And look, they got some wins under Wells, they got a whole lot of losses under Wells, but there just was never like a buzz coming out of Lubbock. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're right. There was no identity, no personality, and no buzz.
And I think that's something that's what you're feeling right now, is you're feeling that buzz, not because it's just something new, but because it's somebody who you know of and you know is legitimate and who's going to be that way all the time and who's not going to ever stop smashing down on the gas. So, yeah, Red Raiders fans should be absolutely thrilled, and I can't wait to see what he does, and it's going to make for a very interesting rivalry and a meeting here in about 2 weeks, although McGuire won't be on the sideline just yet, but I'm sure he'll have a lot to say about Baylor.
Mac Rhodes, who normally joins us Tuesdays, will be with us tomorrow, and there's some questions about how that protocol and all that works out. We'll get to that. 2 or 3 texts and then straight our chat, and then we go to the calls. From Walter, I'm a USC fan from L.A. Ever since I've been watching your show, the Big 12 has become my new best conference. I love the passion of the host and fan base, and Walter, we love you for watching as well.
Yes, thank
you. From Blake, Odell Beckham toxic to the whole team. From Aaron, with Mahomes as one of the Texas Tech's best and biggest cheerleaders, Texas Tech will never hurt for a good quarterback. Agree?
Yeah, the Odell thing, he's just, that's just kind of part of who he is, and it just never felt like the right fit in Cleveland. Like, that thing just felt like a square peg in a round hole the entire time, and you look back at, Baker this past weekend, and it's like, oh, maybe they're better off without the superstar diva wide receiver. And you know what? Somebody will be better off with Odell, I'm sure. But Cleveland certainly looks like they're going to be better off without him. So it's good to have stars, but they got to be able to fit into the puzzle. And yeah, Odell comes with a little bit too much baggage at this point. But, somebody will absolutely go and pick that baggage up and hope to turn it into what it was in New York not that long ago. Yeah. Texas Tech, if Texas Tech doesn't have a quarterback at any point, then somebody failed massively, absolutely. They should not have to, ever scramble to find somebody to throw or hand off the football in that offense. Saw Joey talk about, that they're going to be big on defense, which you would expect, and that they're going to throw the ball around. And he mentioned the air raid. They're not going to run the air raid, obviously, and they're going to want to run the football, but they are going to toss it around. So I think you'll have some good options, and I think there's some guys on campus who are already a part of that roster that will be interesting to see how they pan out.
We have Mitch Sherman at 3:45 on what's the next day after in Lincoln, Florida. Edgar Thompson on Dan Mullen's future. But let's go straight to the calls, and we appreciate them. Light them up.
All right, let's go to Donnie from Oklahoma. Donnie, thanks for your call.
Hey, guys. Love the show. Go damn Pokes. Would love to hear what best case scenario for Oklahoma State making the playoffs would be. Would it be beating OU in regular season and then in the conference championship game? Or would it be beating OU in regular season and then facing Iowa State and thrashing them in the conference championship game, thus eliminating the loss to them earlier in the season?
No. Oklahoma State does not want Iowa State to be their opponent. They have 3 losses. They want Oklahoma to be their opponent twice.
Yeah. Beating Oklahoma twice in a row, if you beat Oklahoma 2 weeks in like twice in a row, that's when I say that, it's 2 weeks in a row because it's the last game of the season and then the week after. To go and beat a team,
validate the first one if you can do it.
Yeah, if you can do it. If you can go and beat Oklahoma 2 weeks in a row, when you, especially going in, they might know that's the game that's going to be no matter what happens. So if you beat somebody in Oklahoma, the same thing. Whoever wins that game 2 weeks in a row, if that's how it goes down, can go to the committee and go, look, we had to play these guys, the other best team in our conference, without even a break to really, overcome what we were doing wrong. We just had to go back in and have the same 3 days of practice again and try to correct it like that.
And also, if you play Iowa State, that means Baylor, that win against Baylor is no longer very good because they've now lost 2 more. And the win against Oklahoma, although that would be nice because of the logo, that means they'd lost a couple of games before that game.
Yeah.
So
what you need is, over Oklahoma State, you need Oklahoma to win out until they play you and then beat them twice.
Man, just beating them once is tough enough.
Yeah, I know.
But, if Oklahoma State, with all their troubles they've had with OU over the years, were able to beat them 2 Saturdays in a row, that would really be something else. But, yeah, that's the key. That's the key route. And you mentioned Iowa State, but Baylor would actually be a better opponent at this point. I know you mentioned Iowa State because that's who beat Oklahoma State. But rankings-wise, right now, Baylor still is higher than Iowa State. So I think it would – rather than avenging your loss, so to speak, it would still be better to beat OU and then possibly play Baylor. But no, your best chance is obviously going unbeaten and having 2 weeks in a row where you take down your rival. Because at that point, if everything's first of all, you're rooting for OU in a major way this weekend against Baylor. You're absolutely rooting for the Sooners if you're an Oklahoma State fan. And then you're hoping they just don't have a blemish before then, which they shouldn't before Bedlam because it's right around the corner. And you're hoping at that point they should be around top 5, I would think, in the playoff rankings a couple of weeks from now. So a top 5 win there, they'd probably drop. Still top 10, top 15 win, another one there. So that's the route I would think would be their best bet.
All right, back to the calls, 254-339-1122.
Oh, and in Virginia, you're on the Bet US caller line. Thanks for your call.
Hey, guys. I just wanted to talk about the NCAA reconstituting itself. It seemed like either yesterday or over the weekend that there was a statement that was put out that said D1, D2, and D3 will all have their own governing body. And it just kind of seems that like the NCAA is just kind of fading out, and they've said that they won't intervene in any television deals or contract deals or anything like that. And I think with Greg Sankey and the SEC and what happened in July, they have shown us that there needs to be some sort of overarching power in college football for the schools, for the conferences. It just seems like things are getting a little too out of hand. And Smokey, I know me and you had talked Friday about the innocence of college football, and I think that, and I know probably nobody wants to hear this, is that the NCAA was the reason for that innocence of college football. They were kind of like a parent in protecting college football to a certain extent. Now, were they harsh and did they overstep their bounds sometimes? Oh, absolutely. You can look at that with SMU, and I know people were afraid of that with Baylor. But I just think that the NCAA, while yes, people want it gone, I still think that there needs to be some sort of overarching power to keep everybody in check and make sure that this thing just doesn't run rampant. I feel like the NCAA was kind of the reason that people love college football so much way back in the day. Appreciate y'all having me on. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for the call. Owen, always good to hear from you. I saw that. I was going to bring that up today with Mac, but our segment with him is going to be tomorrow but it's leading more and more towards everybody is separated from everybody else. That you're going to have your tiers. You kind of have that anyway. Mm-hmm. But now if they start to control their own, their own rules, their own governance, I don't know. That's I got to really think about that. Maybe that's a good thing because the NCAA surely isn't doing enough work of what they are supposed to be doing.
Well, even with all the different people they have on the governance committee and, like that Dr. Livingstone is on and they're going to draft some new rules and suggest that. Do we have any faith in that organization to really be able to follow through on it? Or will the big schools and big conferences go, yeah, we just rather do it on our own? I mean, they're not helping them. What's the NCAA do?
Do you trust the schools to monitor themselves?
No. Well, no, I don't.
Yes, yes, in terms of not their individual monitoring, but as groups. Yeah. I think Baylor will keep an eye on Texas and vice versa,
and make each other accountable.
Yes, you have to, and I don't think that if Texas was off or Oklahoma or Iowa State or whoever was doing something nefarious, Baylor, name a team, the other 9 are going to have something to say about it. Not just one. I think that the conference competition will will keep that intact if, in fact, you do have to self-police. But that is a tricky deal. And, it seems like the NCAA is kind of trying to make the moves that they should have made probably 4 or 5 years ago. It looks like they're going with a smaller committee rather than having 20-plus people. It's more of a 9-member committee, which I think is a smart move because I think you can't have too many voices. But it sure seems like this is headed to a firm Division I or FBS, if you will, and a firm FCS and a firm Division III, and rather than just having that wide governing body like you mentioned, I think it's going to be more suited and streamlined for each individual group as opposed to this wide governing body. And I think, if anything, that could make dealings far more efficient rather than relying on just one entity to make every decision under the sun on eligibility to off-field penalties. I think there was far too much in their bag they were having to deal with. So splitting up the responsibilities, I think, could be a good thing. But, you definitely need to keep an eye out on your neighbors for sure.
Yeah, but when you look at just at UMHB and Baylor, and it's a different, UMHB is a different thing than Baylor. So to govern it the same way, even though they're the same but different, is silly. And they're governed the same way.
Yeah, the NCAA runs both of them.
They run both of them, and they don't need to do that. I do think, there's a slippery slope of letting big entities that are all about money and growing govern themselves. Just ask the people in Florida about letting the sugar farmers make their own rules about where they dump their waste and how all the fish died because they got in the canals, or DuPont or any chemical company that has dumped things in the water because nobody was regulating because they were pumping so much money into the economy. Nobody regulated them. I do think, though, that this has that extra element, like Craig mentioned, that, look, there's always going to be somebody watching you or noticing when you do bad things because it's competitive, because it's sports. So letting the conferences police themselves, I think, if they do it right, will be effective just based on that.
At least a Division I level policing, a Division II level policing, a Division III level policing. I think that makes sense. Why is West Virginia having to argue with Sacramento State over, recruiting rules? It doesn't make a lot of sense. So I think this could actually be a good thing and is possibly overdue, but I do think it is a last grasp attempt by the NCAA to try to uphold what power they do have.
From the 276, Neil Brown had an awesome first press conference, and 3 years later they suck.
Hey, they're winning. Well, I know last weekend was tough, but there was a couple of weeks there were good here recently. Right?
Yeah,
they had a couple nice wins.
Yeah, they got themselves off the mat for the big win that they had.
But look, that Oklahoma State game, we knew that was going to happen. But I think Neil Brown's a good coach. I believe in him.
When we come back, more from your calls. We have a guest at 3:45 and then a bunch of them after that as well. So let's get to more calls. We'll come back. Get on it. 254-339-1122. Sick 'em. 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Right now at Don Humidor and Coffee Beans, Carol, Ashley, and Cheyenne. Vita Dreamy, THC free. This means that if you have problems, if you struggle at times going to sleep at night, sometimes it just might be a bad day, a lot of things on your mind, or just, I don't know, what you ate, or you're so tired you can't fall asleep, which happens sometimes because you're thinking about it too much. Vita Dreamy can help you out. It's a gummy. You take a little nibble of the gummy, or take a gummy, you eat it, you chew it, and all of a sudden, the next thing you know, you fall asleep, don't even realize it. It's not a dangerous thing. I'm not saying it's like a major drug, but sometimes I do struggle just falling asleep. Lots of things on my mind, whatever it might be, thinking about the next day. So you take a little nibble, you take a gummy, and the next thing you know, you're asleep. And you wake up maybe like an old man like I do in the middle of the night, and you got to go, go pee. Or you wake up when the alarm goes off the next morning. How refreshing and fun would that be? Because you didn't waste 30 minutes or 45 minutes or an hour and a half because you fell asleep and you got a good night's sleep. Try it. It's not worked for everybody, but give it a try. Vita Dreamy, Don Humidor and Coffee Beans, Town West Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
When it comes to me and my money, I know the way it should be. I need a partner I can count on. That's Genco and me.
Refinance your vehicle today at Genco with rates as low as 1.69% for 48 months and have 90 days of no payments. Refinancing can lower your payment, so you pay less for your car. Apply online and get an additional 0.1% off our already low rate. Thank you, Genco. And don't forget, your vote counts. Vote today for your local school to win $1,500 with Genco's School Spirit Competition. For more information, go to gencofcu.org.
Annual percentage rate subject to change without notice. Subject to credit approval, membership eligibility, and loan policies. NCUA Equal Housing Lender.
They're people I trust. They treat me like family. My money, my future, my credit union. Genco.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
It's the Black Friday sales event going on now. Come see the beautiful, elegant third-row seat Jeep Grand Cherokee L in stock at Allen Samuels. The 2021 Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo or Limited has total values of $3,500 or 0% for 72 months going on now and no payments for 90 days. First responders get an extra $500 cash. Allen Samuels, located at 201 West Loop 340 in Waco.
Come by. Let's be friends.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Call us on the Bet US hotline, 254-339-1122.
All right, here we go. Shorter segment here. Thanks for all the calls and the chat rooms lit up. Text messages, 254-339-1122. Green Wolf Green. Come on here every day for wisdom and truth. Keep up the good work, guys. Thank you very much, Green Wolf. We appreciate that. Paul?
All right, Stephen in Virginia, you're on the Bet US caller line. Thanks for your call.
Hey, guys. I wanted to ask a question about this Texas Tech coaching search. I feel like I've heard national media people question the need for Texas schools, especially Texas Power 5 schools, to go get coaches that are from Texas or that have Texas high school coaching route. And I think this cements the fact that you should go get a coach with good Texas high school football connections or that's really good at Texas high school football politics. I think the outsiders like Charlie Strong, I view Tom Herman as the same way. He coached at Houston, but I don't really ever felt like Texas high school football coaches trusted him. And Matt Wells, who brought a whole staff from Utah State, I just don't really think any of those things ever worked out, any of those hires worked out. And the only outside of Texas hire that has worked recently is Coach Rule, and that's because he hired Texas football coaches. And then to piggyback off that, does this also put Texas Tech in an awkward spot? Because I don't feel like Coach McGuire would be a bad coach for them. I feel like he would do what Texas Tech needs, win 8 games a year annually. But I feel like if he's doing that, Texas Tech can't justifiably fire him because, then they're going to sever a lot of their relationships with the high school football coaching community in Texas. So I just wanted to get y'all's opinion on that. I'll talk to y'all later.
All right, Stephen, let's not forget, you said recently, and I know that he got fired 2 coaches ago, but Mac Brown was not from Texas. And he came in and won a national title and is the only coach in Texas that has done that in the last,
32 years. Excuse me, since 1970. That's the only school in Texas who's won a national title in football, and that was in 2005.
Yeah, and we'll see what happens with Jimbo Fisher at A&M. He didn't have any Texas football ties. They're trying to recruit nationally. The big-time coaches try to recruit nationally. I think for Texas Tech in particular, when you've had Cliff Kingsbury, then Matt Wells, and so it's only been – there's still players on that roster that are Kingsbury guys. There's going to be players on Joey McGuire's roster that are Matt Wells guys. You need to streamline it into your local area a little bit more, and that's why a coach with Texas high school recruiting ties matters. That's why Art Briles mattered for Baylor at the time because they had just been through coach. You needed somebody who could streamline it. Tech has been through the same thing. It's been Leach and then Tuberville and then Kingsbury and then Matt Wells. You need somebody who can streamline it, and that's where Joey McGuire and the Texas ties come in.
I think Texas ties are important in this state because, I don't really care who I upset with this. I think Texas high school coaches need to be, have their bellies rubbed a little bit. I think that's fair to say. I think that they have obviously, earned the respect, and Joey McGuire has a great deal of respect because he was one of those guys. But I do think there is maybe unique to this state versus elsewhere because I haven't read a whole lot of articles about the California high school coaches feeling like David Shaw had to prove something to them or Clay Helton but you hear that in Texas and it's weird, but there's obviously something to that. And I think that there are egos around the Texas high school football ranks that need to be massaged a little bit and they want to be respected and they want some attention paid. And I think Joey McGuire will be able to do that. And what that will do is that will turn into creating some inroads and creating a foundation to wherever he walks into those schools. He's going to know the spots who have been looked over. He's going to know the spots who have the hidden gems. And I think his knowledge and just his connections will lead to him probably getting a lot of tips on, hey, did you know about this kid out in Weatherford or this or that? So I think that is where having those Texas ties will really, come in handy. Him just knowing how
I would rather have him than not.
No question about it. I'm not knocking them at all.
Absolutely,
I'm saying, and especially for Texas Tech because they're never going to be a national recruiting power. They're occasionally going to get a guy from California and Arizona and New Mexico and all that, but ultimately their bread and butter is going to be the state of Texas. So I think McGuire makes a lot of sense. I think those high school ties are going to pay dividends. I don't think it means he's going to get 10 out of the top 15 because that's still going to be Texas and A&M and Alabama and Ohio State and Oklahoma. But they will see an improvement. I have no doubts about that. I think that was, not something that necessarily you have to have everywhere in this state because I do think you can be at an A&M or Texas and find your way around it. But at a Texas Tech, absolutely. That was something that they needed to have and I think will be a nice feather in their cap.
All right, a couple of chats.
What was the other question he had, though? He had a second part to that about I guess we all forgot.
Oh, about if Texas Tech is in a bind if they fire him.
Oh, yeah.
Look, if he's not good, they've got to fire him. Bind or no bind.
Yeah. No. The Texas high school coaches understand who's successful.
They've all been fired too.
Yeah. No, it's part of the business.
Steven, there's 2 coaches. Those have been fired and those are getting fired.
Matt Rule, what he did with Wetzel and Bell and McGuire was incredibly smart. And someone told him to do that. Someone gave him that. And he's also give him credit for understanding that because that was a big deal. When he came back, what was it? One of the first games Carolina played this year, he wore a Texas High School Coaches Association cap. They loved the guy. He's from Jersey. He got it, though, and he loved to rub the bellies. He knew what he was doing, and he had 3 guys that understood the system. Not just those 3, but others as well. When we come back, Mitch Sherman, the next day after Lincoln, the Scott Frost contract has been renegotiated or restructured. What does that really mean? Can they ever get over the hump? Next on Sikkim 365 Radio. Pioneer Steel and Pipe. Heavy-duty, big-time product. Heavy product, steel, metal, pipe. Pioneer Steel and Pipe has been in business since 1943, and that in itself is amazing in this day and age. That's success. That's commitment. That means you're loyal to your customers, and they're loyal to you because you deliver not only great customer service, but also incredible product. Product changes. Some of the businesses that were around and doing well in the 40s or 50s, or heck, even 5 years ago, may not be around today for whatever reason. Sometimes they just get eaten up by the big box stores because of pricing. Pioneer Steel and Pipe, there's big box stores that sell things that they do as well, but they do it the right way and have the best product, and you can count on them delivering every single time. They don't want you one time. They want you to come back numerous times as a customer, a contractor, somebody that builds things, somebody's about to build something, or you need somebody to do it for you. Pioneer Steel and Pipe. Locations in Waco and Bryan. Open Saturdays if you can't get there during the week from 8 until noon at pioneerboys.com.
It's Baylor football season, and as always, Berg Colgin Ford supports the green and gold. Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Berg Colgin Ford. It's time for team celebrations and BU touchdowns. Berg Colgin Ford is your home team when it comes to trucks and tailgates. Ford has the perfect truck for you to host a top-ranked tailgate party. Here's to a winning season for our hometown Bears. Visit us anytime at bkford.com. Buying made simple at BK Ford. Sic 'em Bears.
You know what would make this moment better? Pizza. Dough made from scratch and an Italian family sauce recipe pizza. 3 fresh signature cheeses making a melty blanket of perfection pizza. Like loads of premium toppings like crispy Old World pepperoni, savory Italian sausage, and fresh sliced veggies pizza. That's Marco's Pizza. Visit marcos.com and make any moment better. And with 4 locations in Waco, Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
So recently, a northern transplant in our fair city came in to pick up outfitters for the first time, and he was starstruck. He told us that truck accessories were not needed in Illinois. I know, pick your jaw up off the ground. An entire state full of trucks driving around completely nude. Then he said he saw the light when he moved to Texas and found that in Texas, truck accessories were a necessity. I don't know about a necessity, but Texans have a whole different attitude about their trucks, and they give them their rightful place as a family member. I mean, what exactly do you use your truck for if you're not going to put anything on it? All this is a warning for the good people of Central Texas to stay diligent. Don't let your truck look like it came from up north. Put something on that truck, for goodness sakes. A bumper, a lift kit, some running boards. At Pickup Outfitters, we know what your truck needs. So come and see us at 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or check us out on the web at createacommotion.com.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to treat kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
When we moved to Texas, we were like fish out of water. We didn't know anyone in our neighborhood until our Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent came to the house. She was so helpful and reassuring, a friendly face with that Texan hospitality I'd heard about. When we purchased a Texas Farm Bureau insurance policy, we knew we were making the right choice. We knew our family would be protected.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Are you a Sikkim 365 superfan? Then try out our premium subscriptions at Sikkim365.com.
All right. Mitch Sherman covers Nebraska for the Athletic college football site. He's been with us a couple of times before and joins us now the day after Scott Frost's contract restructured, assistant coach is gone. Mitch, thank you very much. Is this going to give him a new lease on life, and who's going to hire the assistants? Is that going to be Trev Albert, or is it going to be Scott Frost?
Hey, Smokey, how are you? I think it'll be Scott Frost making the hires on the assistant coaches. Trev Alberts, the athletic director, is fully going to allow Scott to succeed at this or mess it up. And if he messes it up, then there's not a lot of time left on the clock. This is not now a long-term deal. They've got a year, probably. Maybe you could say 2, but I think it's more likely a year to show some real progress. So it's a tough ask for a group of new assistants to walk into, but they will be able to hire guys. It's Big Ten job. It's good money. It's probably 2 years of pay, even if they're coaching 1 year. And if they coach 1 and do well, then they get to continue. So they will be able to attract candidates, and we'll see what he's looking at. I would think fairly soon. If you're going to make this move to get rid of your current offensive staff, 80% of it, with 2 games left on the schedule, there's a reason there, and I would think that means because you're planning to move fast and have something in place with that 2022 staff very soon after this year ends on Black Friday.
Mitch, how much of this is not just staff that needs to be moved out the door, but some of the players as well? One in particular is Adrian Martinez, who I know keeps them in and out of games in the exact moment, seemingly a lot of the times. But I kind of feel like if maybe Scott Frost wasn't saddled with him as being the best quarterback available on the roster, it may work in the benefit of the team.
You never know what might happen if you didn't feel like you had to go with him because of the talent that he's got and the ceiling that he's got. But it has never worked out in the way that they've intended with Martinez. Always, and I say always because it is actually always, when they get in these spots to be able to have an opportunity to win a game, a clutch moment, it just hasn't worked. It was, again, that way last Saturday against Ohio State. Nebraska has the ball down 6:11 left, long field to go. Adrian had a 20-yard run to start the drive, and then quick 3 incompletions, and they're out. Ohio State gets the ball and scores, and that's a repeated pattern that has happened in 6 of Nebraska's 7 games this year. It's had the ball with a chance to go ahead late in the game, and it's not scored a single point on any of those drives. And here they are at 3-7. You can't point entirely to the quarterback because he's a big part of the reason they've had the success that they have had in staying in games. He's the engineer that has allowed this to become a boom or bust offense, and they've produced big plays, but they've not won games, and it's a repeated pattern with Martinez at the helm. So, yes, Paul, I'm in agreement. I think they have to find a way with Scott coming back for a 5th year to do it with the same quarterback all 5 years. That's not really fair in the evaluation process. It's time to see in 2022 if he's able to do this differently when he's got a different quarterback in charge.
Mitch, I saw where Frost talked about making incremental progress, and that's something that he's talked about a lot. Where have you, I mean, obviously the end of games have been absolute disasters, but where have you seen the incremental progress, so to speak, with this roster this season?
Well, on defense, you see it. There's been incremental progress for 4 seasons on defense, and they're playing like a top 20 or 25 defense in the country statistically. And more than that, just the way that they stop opponents, they've started to even generate turnovers, make big plays, get stops when needed. It's just that they can't do everything because they're put in such bad situations with poor special teams play and inefficient offense. So the defense has made incremental progress, not just this year, and it has this year, but also throughout the 4 years with Scott Frost in charge of the team, Eric Chenander, the defensive coordinator, in charge of that side of the ball. There are places on the offensive side where you've seen progress. There's been some growth among some of the receivers this year. Among the top running back, Ramir Johnson, he's come along this season, was not expected to be the guy at all, like a 4th or 5th string running back coming into the season. He's turned into an adequate, capable Big Ten back who can carry the ball and move the chains and make catches out of the backfield. The tight ends have shown some growth this year. Austin Allen is a guy who's going to have a decision to make about coming back as a 6th-year senior next year or going to the NFL. You've seen it with a lot of individual players, really, on both sides of the ball, more on defense. But I would agree there's incremental progress, and you can tell by the outcomes of these games. I mean, in the scores of these games. But you can't tell when you look at that record, which is 3-7.
There's 2 things, Mitch, that and you know me, and you and I have traded back sometimes. I think you just like block me on purpose, and you should, and we've mentioned that before. They're a dumb football team. Let's put it this way: their football IQ is not very high, and their special teams is a wreck. Tom Osborne had great football players and great teams, and he had also great special teams. He never took an eye off of that. And here you have a bad team that if maybe a little bit better in special teams, they might be, 5-4, 4-5 instead of whatever they are right now, or 4-6, or then 3-7. Would you agree?
Yeah, it's unusual to look at it and say they could have actually won maybe 3 or 4 more games with good special teams play, maybe 2 more games with just mediocre special teams play. But it really is the case with this team. Sometimes I think that gets overblown, and you can make that statement, and it's maybe exaggerated. Special teams cost you 1 game or makes a 1-game swing. It really is as many as 4 with this team. I mean, Oklahoma, it was huge. Ohio State, it was huge. Michigan State, it flat out lost them the game. Michigan, it was big. Illinois, it was huge. The special team taking a safety on a punt return, missed kicks, bad punts. They're all over the place. And as they've gotten later into the season, they've shored up some of the things with the coverage and return units. The return units were a mess early in the year. Not been so much of that. I wouldn't say it's been great, but it hasn't cost them points necessarily. Where they have not gotten better is in the kicking, the punting and the place kicking. 2 more missed field goals against Ohio State. It's just not the kind of mistake you can make. Ohio State made 4 field goals in that game. They were 4 for 4. Nebraska was 0 for 2. It's a 9-point game. Both teams scored 2 touchdowns. So, I mean, hey, there you go. I guess Nebraska was 1 for 3. I figure 17 points, there's a field goal. So 1 for 3 versus 4 for 4. That's the difference in the game. And it's not a new thing. So, yeah, whatever the new complexion of the staff is, it's likely going to have to include a special teams coordinator if Trev Albert's serious about allowing Scott Frost to construct this thing or encouraging him to construct this thing in a way that makes the team better in all 3 phases. They're going to need a dedicated special teams coordinator. No more with the outside linebackers coach being in charge of all of the special teams or having an analyst in charge of the special teams as Nebraska did in 2020. Time to have one of your 10 assistant coaches who heads that thing up. Other teams in the Big Ten West, a number of them do it that way, and Nebraska needs to get on even playing field with those opponents. I think it's coming, but we'll know for sure in a few weeks.
How much will Scott Frost be willing to adjust his offensive philosophy? I mean, maybe I'm not talking about going back to the power I or running the wishbone or something, but maybe in a search for a coordinator, change what he had as an overall goal for the offense when he first got there 5 years ago.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be the same offense that he brought from UCF, the same offense that he ran at Oregon. I think he's going to let his coordinator have some freedom to what he wants to do, but I don't think Scott's going to pick a guy who's dramatically different from what his philosophies are. They're still going to want to throw the ball. They're still going to want to incorporate RPO. They're still going to want to have a strong running game. With the players that they have in the program, they're going to need to build something that fits those guys. They don't have time to rebuild this thing from scratch, bring in new players for a new system. It's got to work in 2022. So it can't be that much different from a schematic standpoint just because of the personnel that they have coming back to be able to work in the short term. So it's going to look somewhat similar, but I'm sure that the new offensive coordinator, who presumably is going to be calling plays and allow Scott Frost to be more of a CEO, walk-around type head coach, put his own imprint on things defensively and with special teams. Presumably that guy is going to have some freedom. Really interesting. That's the biggest hire that he has to make out of these four. Some might argue special teams. I just made a good case for special teams and the importance of it. But you're talking about an offensive coordinator who's likely going to call plays and coach quarterbacks. And perhaps would be influential in bringing in a quarterback out of the transfer portal if Nebraska's not entirely sold on the two guys, plus the commitment out of San Antonio, who are expected to be on the roster next year. If they're not entirely sold on those three, there may be a portal guy coming in. I would expect that quarterback is going to be connected in some way to the new coordinator. So huge hire to make for Scott at that position.
I agree with you what you said about Martinez. You almost had to let him play. He's so talented, but it didn't seem like he progressed. He still was making some of the mistakes. The turnovers were deadly from the first game against Colorado when he was a true freshman. Hey, Mitch, thanks for your time. We'll see what happens. I in a day and age where everybody's just changing, it says quite a bit, and sometimes maybe the best thing to do is not, and see how it works out. Thanks for your time.
Thanks a lot, guys. Take care.
Mitch Sherman, theathletic.com, on Scott Frost restructuring his deal. I think it's also fair to say that who are they going to get? When you have Florida, perhaps, LSU and USC, among others, and even right now with TCU and a couple of others looking for coaches, who are they going to get? Who's going to be a better fit? It has been awful with him. It's been bad, but you could just set yourself back another 10 years, so why not be patient? Sometimes it's better to throw a ball away than get sacked. Sometimes it's better to punt than throw a pick, right? And in this particular case, in coaching changes, it might be better just not to do one.
And I think the big thing for Nebraska fans is they don't want to feel like probably they gave up on a guy who's one of their own, too soon, even though he has had a good amount of time at this point. So I think it's fair all the way around for everybody involved. All right, one more year. Prove it or you're out. And there's no arguments that can be made about that, because you could have had an argument if you were a fan about if they were to have pulled the plug right now. But I think this is actually a smart move. So we know either Scott Frost is going to get this thing turned around next season, or Nebraska is going to be first in line on the head coaching search. So prepare yourselves for that. I hope it works out for them. I really do. But they're going to have to make a lot of changes and really clean up a lot, especially just the self-inflicted penalties that you could put a highlight reel together from the last couple of seasons and put yakety sacks over it, and it would be a classic.
One of the things, a lot of people agree with what they've done. That doesn't mean it's right, but a lot of people agree with them being patient. And in this particular case,
I think Adrian Martinez can be like
on
that.
The chat room.
That if you move him out, I'm sure he's a great kid and all, but if you move him out and you take that and you make the coaches have to really look at who the best quarterback is overall, not the one who could be the best if he could stop fumbling or didn't have baby hands or whatever Adrian Martinez's problem is. It's going to be like one of those things like, look, we love hanging out with Frank, but every time we do, he gets drunk and, breaks a window, and then you stop hanging out with Frank and windows stop getting broken. It sucks, but how it is.
We all know a Frank, huh?
Yeah. Martinez runs out of bounds a yard short on fourth down or third down. It's not all him. He didn't have a lot of protection over the years, and they got to get better. And I don't know if they can. I hope, for my sake, my sanity, that eventually they do. It's like watching a nightmare every single week. When we come back, Dan Mullen in Florida, another week down, another bad loss to South Carolina. Edgar Thompson from the Orlando Sentinel covers Florida Gators football, and he is next on 365 Sports.
New cars and trucks are coming. New car inventory is low, but GM just announced they will release a steady flow of vehicles through the fall. Now is the time to get on Richard Carr's inbound vehicle list. Choose your inbound vehicle, get on the list, and get your car or truck first. Call Richard Carr Motors or go online to choose your inbound vehicle today. Go to richardcarr.com for details.
At Richard Carr, we give you more.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like our free First mobile app, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Baylor Scott & White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott & White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links. And you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from Select, Choice, or Prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strips, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Hey guys, sports betting season is in full force with football season entrenched and the NBA and NHL underway and the Major League Baseball playoffs. You need a sports book with integrity and longevity like BetUS.com. BetUS has been pioneers in the sportsbook industry for almost 3 decades, thriving and paying their loyal customer base. That's BetUS.com, and they have loads of bonuses like ours at BetUS.com. 125% bonus on promo code SICK'EM125 or a 200% bonus if you use crypto on promo code SICK'EM200. BetUS, known as America's favorite sportsbook. NFL, college football, MLB, UFC, PGA golf. They've got it all at BetUS.com. So go to BetUS.com today and use promo code SICK'EM125 or SICK'EM200. That's BetUS.com, promo code SICK'EM125 or SICK'EM200.
Don's Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don's Humidor in the Townwood Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Welcome back to Sick'em 365 Radio.
Looking for a shot. There it is. It is Bedney. Touchdown.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Well, I didn't plan it this way, but when I reach out to Paul and Craig on the weekend and say, okay, after we see the evidence on Saturday And we look ahead to the games coming up, the bigger games, and obviously we cover Baylor and what they're doing with Oklahoma this week. But the big wins, the bad losses, or what are some of the stories? We mentioned Florida and Nebraska, and we just heard from Mitch Sherman, and now Edgar Thompson, Orlando Sentinel joins us after Florida yet has another bad weekend. Edgar, what would you say on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the worst, is Dan Mullen's hot seat?
It's 6. I mean, it's heated up. Before last week, I'd say it was a 3 or 4. And here's the thing, sir. I'm just being realistic. I got to be reasonable and not reactionary, is what I keep saying to folks. Everybody wants me to start firing Dan Mullen. You know, I mean, I'm on Feinbaum yesterday and getting interrogated like he's Clarence Darrow at the Scopes Monkey trial. I mean, I'm like, this is like, I'm not firing Dan Mullen on national TV, Paul. Sorry. But if they have another one of those where it's like, I mean, you can, I guess, explain away last weekend's game if you really want to be forgiving as flu, few dozen players with the flu, a concussed quarterback, and then a team wondering what it's really even playing for anymore, and no shows. And it was bad. But that happens again, and you might be going to Code Red, and he's going to need asbestos pants. So the fact of the matter is, yeah, he went from like, yeah, I mean, the support of the administration, et cetera, was pretty strong still, despite a lot of negatives and bad performances and poor recruiting. But still, what are you gonna do? You're gonna stick with the guy and trust that he can pull you out of it. Now it's kind of like, man, that was the evidence is mounting.
Edgar, how much is maybe Dan Mullen benefited by the fact? Now, granted, everything you said could happen in the next few weeks, but by the fact that LSU and USC have already fired their coaches, there's not a lot of whales swimming in the water, and Florida fans are going to want a whale. Whether that's the best thing for them or not, they're going to want something big. And if there's not something big, you might as well just keep the guy you have and let him coach, as opposed to firing him and getting somebody who's not going to be what you want.
Well, that's a very good point. And here's another one to consider. If I'm Scott Strickland, was I really thinking about like Dan before the LSU game, October 16th? So we're not even talking a month ago, right? I mean, right? We're talking like 3 weeks ago. You're thinking we're fine. Yeah, we're not playing like we'd like, but we'll beat LSU. They're decimated and got a lame duck coach. Turned out the guy got fired the next day at Orgeron. Yeah, Georgia's going to be a big uphill battle, but then it smooths out and we'll be fine. Well, no, then you go lose at LSU and give up 321 yards rushing to a team averaging 83 coming into the game on the ground. Then you get whipped by Georgia. And then you go to South Carolina and just flop. So was he ready to was he already looking and thinking? I mean, you got to have this, I guess you always got to be ready, but man, you don't want to just jump into the deep end and start trying to hire a coach when you really hadn't even been looking at it that carefully, because it's a big hire. This is would be the third head coach in 7 years to be gone. And it's kind of like, you really just want to keep doing that? And if you do, and if you just accept the fact that this isn't working out in your mind, right? You come to terms with that. Well, you better make sure this next one works out. And it isn't just yeah, he's doing pretty well where he is. You got to find out a lot about this guy. You got to find out about his staff and all these things that you need to know. Right? You got to have every I dotted and T crossed. And has Scott Strickland been able to do that in a matter of just whatever? I mean, a very tight window here.
So 2 coaching moves made yesterday with defensive coordinator Todd Grantham and offensive line coach John Hevesy, who's been with Mullen for a very long time now. I think with the Grantham news, I probably heard the celebration in Gainesville all the way here in Texas, because I've seen so much chatter about him over the last few weeks. But your thoughts on those 2 moves Mullen made yesterday?
Yeah, I mean, that was a big sigh of relief from the fan base when Todd Grantham was let go. people make this stuff way too personal, man. I mean, we're just talking, right? We're just talking like a college freaking football here, and we're talking people's lives. Now, these people make tons of money, but God dang, Todd Grantham probably, who knows the last time he hadn't worked a 12, 15-hour day. I mean, these guys are maniacs. And it just hadn't worked out. Dan probably could have let him go after last year. It was a historically bad season defensively for the Gators. But the school was going to have to eat $1.8 million on his salary. And you look at the guy, you're like, he's done it before. He's been successful. We're going to give him one more shot. And the last 3 games, 2 of those games, South Carolina, LSU, were just debacles. 605 rushing yards for those 2 teams that weren't very good running teams. So that was bad, and it was time to go. John Hevesy, he has been with Dan Mullen since 2001 at Bowling Green and Urban Meyer's staff. They went from Bowling Green to Utah to Florida to Mississippi State and back to Florida together. These guys are like really good friends. Families are close. I mean, it's just a hard move to make. It's almost like a divorce. So that had to have hurt, and that had to have been tough. But he had to do it. I mean, look, the offensive line has been soft for 3 years, and the recruits just aren't coming to Gainesville. John is very demanding. He makes a lot of players' lives miserable with his extreme, style of coaching. He's very old school, but he gets a lot out of certain kids. But, you can't just go tell a recruit, I'm going to make your life miserable, but you're going to get better and enjoy it in the end and expect him to come anymore. That's just not how it works anymore.
Well, there was that piece, Paul, was it last week, the question about recruiting, and it seemed like he was, we'll get to that at some point later. I don't know if that was taken out of context. How much?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking that question and not coming to my own conclusions.
So he basically, so you have a child, the child comes up, they're bugging you, Dad, and you're like, look, I'm not doing this right now. Go clean your room. I mean, that's basically what he was saying to the reporter. First question of the press conference after you get your butt kicked, you're already still smarting. Dan does not take losses well. I mean, I don't know many coaches that do, but he takes them particularly badly, and he does not like to be challenged. And then recruiting is just a sore spot right now because it's not going well. They got 2 decommitments recently from 2 of their top 3 guys in the class decommitted, and they're both defensive players. So it's like the thing's falling apart on them. And then the first question's like, yeah, there's been a lot about recruiting. He's like, look, we're playing a game this week. We're not doing that right now, right? We'll talk about recruiting when it's recruiting time. That's what he was saying. Came across terribly, came across very petulantly, and it did not, it was a bad look. And Dan has done that too many times within the last year. Whether it was Pack the Swamp after the Texas A&M loss, which, by all accounts, Kyle Field was rocking that day during the middle of a pandemic. I mean, anyone you talk to, there was a lot of people at Kyle Field, okay? They were over their 20%. But the point is, he handled that poorly. Missouri, I mean, he's inciting a brawl pretty much because Kyle Trask got a late hit. And that was coming off a COVID infection after he was coming up, packing the swamp, he gets COVID. It was just bad optics. And then he gets a show cause penalty for a recruiting violation at the end of the season. And that looks bad. He can't even recruit, physically can't get on the road right now, guys. He cannot recruit until next year in person, off campus. So there's a lot of just bad optics and a lot of stuff like that. And you got to live with it and accept it and move on if you think that Dan Mullen brings enough to the table still and has done it before and is going to turn this thing around. But it's getting more questionable, like I said, whether it can really happen.
Yeah, Edgar, it seems to me like Dan Mullen's biggest weakness is that he forgets that the internet exists. And the same question asked to Kirby Smart the same week, Kirby gives this great answer. And then when his fans, go onto any recruiting site, the headline is Georgia lands another big fish. And then that's your big rival in the conference. So even if he was doing everything in his power to make it better, it just, like you said, it's bad optics. And the power of the internet makes him look even worse.
Well, there's no doubt. I mean, social media just is crushing. And it's crushing for us. I mean, I don't know what your feed looks like some days if you say something stupid, but it's or not even stupid, something that fans don't agree with. And they just ratio you, marginalize you, castigate you. I don't know how many people I have muted. I mean, it's amazing. I finally start blocking people recently. I was kind of an anti-blocker, but now I'm just done with it. It's just like, right? So anyway, I mean, think about if you're one of these people. We're not important at all. I mean, these guys are like the highest paid highest paid state employees in there are. I mean, Dan Mullen makes $7.5 million. I mean, that comes with a lot of criticism and pressure and expectations, and you should have to perform. But like I said, people make this stuff so personal, man. So anyway, yeah, I mean, he's tone deaf about certain stuff, and he's very stubborn. He's extremely bright, and he gets that smartest guy in the room, kind of, it leaves that impression, and it comes across as arrogance even, and people get rubbed wrongly by the guy. But the bottom line is he coaches the quarterback position extremely well. He's a first-class game planner and play caller on offense. It hasn't looked like it this year. Emory Jones has not panned out. That's been a huge, that's just been a big hit. I mean, it just hurt them because they needed him to be great, and he hasn't even been good. And it's exposed a lot of other warts. Kyle Trask, a Houston kid, right? You guys know him, of course. He was great last year. He was phenomenal even last year. Kyle Pitts, Kadarius Toney are already making waves in the NFL as first-year players. Those three guys really camouflaged, I think, a lot of issues with this program on the field last year because they could just score at will. And now you're seeing, oh, yeah, well, they don't have that, and now they can't score at will, and there's a lot of flaws. So, a lot on Dan Mullen's plate, a lot of questions, uphill battle. I think he's going to get another year, but I tell you, they lose at home to FSU on the final game of the season. I better have a story written that he gets fired because it could happen.
Yeah, it sure sounds like it. And just like everything seems to be coming at them at once. You got the Anthony Richardson story where, he's dealing with a concussion and apparently gets hurt dancing. Kind of what was your take on that? And does it sound like he's going to be available coming up this weekend?
It's unbelievable, right? It's like this kid, it's like he backflips during pregame warm-ups. It's phenomenal. I mean, it's fluid. I mean, he looks like Dominique Morciano or something doing these things. The name of Texan for you.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he is just a smooth athlete, man. But is he a really good quarterback yet? I don't know. I mean, he's 19, redshirt freshman, and last year came in as an early enrollee. We're talking 2020. Got no spring practice. Comes into this weird training camp. You're not even meeting fully. I mean, right? So it was really a lost season his first year. So now he's a redshirt freshman. So he's really like in his first year in the program. He started his first game, and it was against the best defense like we're seeing in years. And it was a nightmare. I mean, he had 3 straight turnovers, and they turned him in 21 points in 3 minutes. So it was like, that scars you. And so then he gets concussed, and then it's like Friday night before the game, and he's actually been cleared to play. Now, I don't think he was going to start. He was going to probably be an emergency guy, but then he really wasn't even available because he's doing whatever in the backflips or whatever the heck he's doing. I have no idea. I wasn't there. But tweaks his knee. MRI's clear, but then Mullen says he's limping around Monday. So it's like, look, when it rains, it pours, man. Dan's had buzzard's luck for sure this year, but there's also been plenty that he's brought on himself or that his staff has brought on the whole program with the recruiting. There's not the depth. They maybe evaluated some things. I mean, Dan, he really has believed in Emory for a long time. Seeing a guy coming off the bench when it's scripted and he's running certain things and he does it well, like Emory was doing the last couple of years, a lot easier than running an entire game plan. So he just doesn't look decisive and confident. And so you move on to Anthony, and now he's hurt. And it's just a litany of questions, guys. So, and the big one you guys have asked him multiple times is, will Dan be back? I don't have that answer. If it were today, yes. Talk to me in 3 weeks.
And we will, Edgar, and we will. One way or the other, we'll wrap it up or also look ahead to whatever coaching search there might be. Thank you, man. Appreciate you jumping on with us again today. Have a great week.
Yeah, it was fun. Thanks, guys.
Every time.
See ya.
Edgar Thompson, Orlando Sentinel, with us on Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. And some of you in the chat room, you didn't like some of his answers or you wanted more, but we appreciate that as well.
Yeah, I think he covered a lot of ground there, and definitely enjoy having him on the show. He's fun to listen to, and yeah, you just when it rains, it pours, like he said. The whole Anthony Richardson injuring himself, dancing, and not being a bit. That's just one of those years, man. It's one of those years where it doesn't matter what you do, it's going to go wrong.
Yeah. So Florida State's not happy. Mm-hmm. Miami has had a couple of wins to get them off the turf, but they're not happy. We know Florida's not happy. UCF is kind of that win that they had. Was it against who was it? Was it against Memphis or whoever that kind of got them back near 500 or so? And this is what Sam Kim, every fan base in Florida is unhappy. Misery virus of Miami and Florida State has now reached Gainesville.
Well, and look, there's tons of high school talent in Florida to go around where every school can be good. And that was that way in the 90s and early 2000s. And for some reason, they don't have people running the schools. And I'm not just talking about the head coaches that can make those places attractive enough. And I think the biggest thing you're seeing in Florida is they're behind facility-wise all across the board, whether it's the big three or anybody. And UCF might have the most recent new upgrades in facilities, which is why maybe they have an uptick and why they're headed to the Power 5 now, while the other three are just kind of middling. And
yeah, all right. We'll have at 4:30. We'll have Mike Heller on Wisconsin. He's their play-by-play broadcaster. We'll have him at 4:30.
Biggest way to change that is not facilities, though. It's winning. It's winning, and also to do that, you got to have the recruits. So it all comes full circle, and it certainly sounds like Dan Mullen is sweating whenever he's sitting in that head coaching seat there in Gainesville. So we'll see what happens, but intrigued by that potential opening for sure.
Man, is the chat room going nuts on the state of Florida in college football. Also, Gabe Eichert, who played at Oklahoma, he's with the Big 12 XS.
Go ahead.
Sirius XM. He's going to join us on Oklahoma after the off week against Baylor at 5 o'clock today.
And by the way, y'all see where Lincoln Riley didn't do his press conference today? Yeah. Caused a whole lot of commotion because he had something come up apparently, so he didn't do his press conference and had an assistant do it instead. I don't know if he had both his coordinators up there. I thought I saw Alex Grinch talking earlier, and those guys do usually talk, I believe. OU fans can correct me on that, but I think they do. But yeah, Lincoln Riley wasn't available, and I haven't seen the reasons behind that, but it did not take but 5 minutes before a fake LSU football account announced him as their new head coach. So if you see those rumors, that's why, because Lincoln Riley did not do his media session today.
Out of all the Twitter accounts, the only one that's gotten me in the past is the Adam Schefter one. That's the one, I think, or Ian Rappaport on occasion, and sometimes he might be wrong anyway. But he does break a lot of news. But those, on a couple of occasions, I've oh my God, especially when it's not like oh my God, but oh my.
Yeah, well, no, an LSU football account tweeted, and it had like the name cut off, so you couldn't see whether it was legit or not, or whether there was a blue check. And it made my heart jump for a second because I was like, whoa, wait a second, Lincoln Riley just missed a press conference, and now LSU's announcing him. But of course, I'd looked further, and much ado about nothing. But they're going to be rumors because of that, so prepare for that. But
all right, and now we will take a break here because we need to take a break here. But Craig has played us some audio.
I'll have that off the radar.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay, that's good.
While we're talking about Florida, we need to play the South Carolina Twitter video.
Do you have that, Armstrong?
Yeah, I sent it to him.
So South Carolina, they buried Florida, like 41-16, whatever the score was. Give or take a point, it doesn't matter. They beat them up pretty badly. Craig's Off the Radar's got some audio or a story about an offensive line coach. Is that right? And
no, guys, Bo Davis is the D-line coach.
Defensive line coach, excuse me, just completely tear it into a team. About some attitudes and whatever. That's coming up at 4:45. Armstrong, do we have that South Carolina video? Okay. So here is the game with South Carolina, Florida. Is this got audio to it?
Yeah, Josh Van.
Okay, here we go. All right.
How does this happen? I don't know. I really don't know because I watched this play over and over again.
Hey, I'm trying to place an order.
Communication between alligators can be very subtle. quiet.
What's up, man? Nothing about to score a touchdown. Oh, yo, I did it, man.
I did it, man.
Coach, I got an idea. Hey man, you almost here with my order? The gate code is 4017. Let me know when you get here.
Oh my Lord.
That is some next level trash talk there.
Yeah,
I like
that social media team needs to get. I saw someone say they need to win the Heisman Trophy. If you're a Florida Gator, are they going to play? Is he an underclassman?
I don't know.
That'll be interesting if they ever have to play again.
Hey, look, quality writing. Alligators' communication is subtle at times. Or communication between alligators, that is some quality stuff right there.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
I mean, for those who didn't get to watch that because you're listening, definitely check out that video. Basically, it's him in the end zone doing a variety of activities from shooting arrows to calling Uber Eats to whatever he's doing because he was so wide open on that play, which you could tell if you saw the video, but for those listening on radio. So, yeah, great job by South Carolina's media department. That's a good one right there.
Aaron Wilson, so funny. Paula McReynolds, that's hilarious. Donnie Han, the emoji laughing. Van is literally the only guy on the USC on South Carolina worth covering. USC. Wide open. The dude graduated. That's awesome. From Matt Smith, that's not as bad as UCF fans. Oh, horns up from Matt. Throwing down. All right, the bow and arrow was a nice touch, and the sound effects as well. When we come back,
I agree. I thought that too.
Wisconsin's on a pretty good little run, and they needed to be. And Mike Heller, who's their broadcast play-by-play voice, he's next on on Sikkim 365 Radio, and also Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Pickup Outfitters, right now you can get lay-in and spray-in bed liners for your pickup truck. If, in fact, you get tired of things banging around in the pickup bed and you want to protect it from getting dented. Now, I always thought it. I've never owned a pickup truck. I've driven some before based on driving for the Allen Samuels folks, but I never wondered about whether the pickup bed would get dented. I thought that's why you got a pickup truck. But if you get tired of things bouncing around and you want to protect the bed, Pickup Outfitters with spray-in and lay-in liners are available. 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco. CreateACommotion.com. Bumpers and grill guards. And if you want to protect the bed by covering it up, they have all the various retractable type covers and more, even permanent covers for your pickup truck as well. Tell Jay Errett, Smokey sent you. Sikkim 365 Radio, 220 Lake Air Drive, Pickup Outfitters, CreateACommotion.com.
Y'all listen up. Let me tell you something about group meals from Rudy's Barbecue. It's got all you need for all the folks you gotta feed, smoked meat, sides, and more. There's everything down to the tablecloth, just like the one that you see at the store. At a bridal shower, it's better than flowers. In a long-distance meeting, it'll pass the hours. It'll feed all the cousins at a family function. It's better than potluck at a church luncheon. Next time you need to feed 10 or more, call and order a Rudy's group meal.
Next in line.
Born in Waco, Brotherwell Brewing exists to serve the Central Texas community with locally crafted beer of the highest quality. They want to bring Central Texas closer to the brewing experience so everyone can enjoy well-made beer as much as they do. For 2.5 years, they've been bringing high-quality beer to Central Texas at their location on Bridge Street in East Waco. Brotherwell Brewing believes in community and bringing people together to enjoy products made in their community. So for your game day, whether it's a tailgate or at home, stop by Brotherwell Brewing for high-quality craft beer made right here in Central Texas, 400 East Bridge Street, and check them out online at brotherwell.com.
Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness continues to add more weapons to your getting or staying in shape arsenal with 8 brand new treadmills ready for you to run or walk a mile or 2 or 10. And with the explosion of interest in pickleball with instructors Joe Rosa and Jody Thurman with more courts available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with large flat screens stretched across the weight room with Wi-Fi available, their own app to enjoy news, business, weather, or sports. Everywhere you look, there's energy, passion, and commitment. New touchless water fountains fountains outside of each locker room, and all the locker rooms with showers, sauna, and whirlpool. Upgraded PA system throughout the world-class tennis courts with a youth academy led by pro Britt Coleman. Fitness and tennis merchandise available and a tanning bed. I promise you'll look and feel better. You just need to walk through the front door. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with personal trainers Christy London and Randall Corley. 40-plus group exercise classes, including twice-a-week boot camp. It's time to react today, not tomorrow. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lake Shore Drive in Waco.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
Brad Boozer, Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Brad, what makes you different than anyone else, in your opinion, as far as what Boozer's does?
The fact that I own the jewelry store, anything I need to do, will do, or can do, I can do it. The buck stops with me, whereas a lot of places you have to go up the corporate command and corporate channel. Well, if you come in and want to make a deal, we sit there and we make the deal.
And you can find whatever someone's looking for, correct?
Anything is obtainable. I don't care what brand it is, what size it is, how much it costs, large or small. Anything is obtainable, and we can definitely get that in for you to see, look at, or buy.
Do you have the opportunity, if people have to pay things off, as far as a layaway program? What about what you have with financing?
Absolutely. We have 12-month no interest financing. We have layaway. If you want to pay with Bitcoin, I can take Bitcoin now. So if there's any way you want to pay for it, we can find a way out to make it work.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube.
All right, here we go. This is Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Mike Heller, voice of Wisconsin football, will join us here momentarily. They've been on a nice little kind of bouncing back into this thing as well. That Big Ten West is a mess. And we'll discuss that with him here momentarily on 365 Sports as well. John McClain, Houston Chronicle, NFL at 5:30 today as well. The Big Ten Western Division, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Purdue, and Iowa are all 4-2. Illinois 3-4 had the nice win. And then Northwestern and Nebraska pick up the bottom of that division. It is now madness in the West. We're joined by Mike Heller, Heller Sports, on Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports, the voice of Wisconsin football. Man, it's going to get interesting. Maybe it all plays out, Mike, but this could be one of those where tiebreakers just go crazy, right?
Yeah, to be clear, though, on the West side, if Wisconsin goes ahead and beats Northwestern and Nebraska and Minnesota, there is no tie.
Okay.
And if there would be, it would be with Purdue or Iowa, and Wisconsin holds that tiebreaker. So, when Wisconsin got off to the 1-3 start, they dug themselves a hole. But when Purdue won at Iowa, it reopened the door, and Wisconsin found their identity again, an identity that has seemingly always been theirs, of a really strong defense and a great ground game. And they have parlayed that into being back in control and at the wheel to decide how their season shakes out in the end.
Mike, Graham Mertz, I know, is a focal point for Wisconsin fans' consternation, but he's steadied his play. I know that he's not to what they thought he was going to be when he rolled in as a freshman and essentially sent Jack Cohn out the door. But what has been the uptick in his play that's helped?
Well, I think the ground game to be fair, Wisconsin has been an offense that, other than the Russell Wilson year, has been predicated on the run game to open up the throw game. And initially this season, it didn't happen that way. And he had to throw it at times against Penn State and against Michigan and against Notre Dame. And he didn't do it very well. He didn't get protected very well, and defenses weren't respecting Wisconsin on the ground because the offensive line hadn't kind of come together. So I think two things have happened. One, they've run the football, and they didn't rely on him. Shoot, they won a couple of games where he threw the ball 8 times and 11 times. So against significant opponents. So once that happened, then I think that there was some ease and a little bit more confidence in him making a few throws. It's just like a hitter in baseball at times, struggling for a long period of time, and they hit a little Texas leaguer for a double, and then for whatever dumb reason, it begins to click. And I think that Mertz has been a little bit on that side of it. He threw a couple of balls a few weeks ago that ended up being pretty darn good, and he's found a rhythm and a confidence. And right now, it's a pretty complimentary offense that they're getting. He threw for 240 last weekend at Rutgers. Now, Rutgers is not a great measuring stick. However, that 240 can yield dividends when they're home against Northwestern and home against Nebraska and at Minnesota. Wisconsin, strangely enough, has been favored in every game this year, and they will be the rest of the way until or unless they play in the Big Ten championship game.
How much do you think just that difficulty of the early season schedule? I know they played some teams like Iowa and Purdue here recently as well who have, had their successes, but how much of just playing 3 top teams in those first 4 weeks and getting off to that 1-3 start maybe caused some consternation and just getting onto a schedule where you're not facing a number 15, number 10, number 11, 3 out of the 4 weeks help matters?
Yeah, I think that has a lot to do with it. And to be fair, they should have beaten Penn State.
Mm-hmm.
That changes the whole trajectory of the season had they won that opener. I'm front and center on them, and they should have won that. And even though the score would dictate differently, should have beaten Notre Dame in Chicago. But let's just take one back and make that Penn State game different in the result. Wisconsin's still playing for more than just a shot at playing in the Big Ten championship game. When the next playoff committee's rankings come out, Wisconsin's going to be somewhere around 17 or 18. And if they go ahead and beat Northwestern and go ahead and beat Nebraska, no style points in either one of those. But then you go ahead and beat Minnesota. Wisconsin's probably 12th in the country in the playoff committee's voting with 3 losses. What would they be if they were 2 losses and or 1? But playing that difficult schedule, should have won at least one of them. But the cool thing for those who follow this program is that they stayed the course. A lot of locker rooms split when you start 1-3, and before the season you were talking about being a playoff team. And this locker room and this team didn't split. The family stayed together.
How much do you think the way Notre Dame ended, Mike? I mean, a 31-point fourth quarter. I remember watching some of that game, and I looked up 30 minutes later, and I'm like, my God, what happened? How much of that, giving respect to Michigan, they're good, how much do you think that may have carried over against the Wolverines?
Yeah, it had to. And the other part of that is Mertz the quarterback hadn't found anything yet, and they really didn't identify in the ground game. I'd have to look back at it specifically, but I don't think Braylon Allen, the true freshman, is only 17, and he's run for better than 100 yards in 5 straight games. I don't think he saw significant playing time until that point. They wanted to, he's a kid that didn't play a whole lot of running back. He came here as a linebacker. So, I think that there was a carryover against Michigan. I also think, despite their loss to Michigan State, Michigan's a pretty darn good football team. And Wisconsin had some attrition from what happened the week before and a couple of weeks prior to that against Penn State. So, I think there's something to the carryover effect.
Yeah, he had like 5 touches against Michigan, or 5 carries against Michigan. And then since that time, he's got like 100 in the last 5 or 6 games.
Right, and they had a kid that transferred out of the program, Jalen Berger, and Ches Malusi was the featured back. I think they love what Braylon Allen could do, but I don't know how quickly they thought he'd really pick it up. And the kid's tremendous. And the kid is 17. Like, he should be in his high school senior season right now. He should be playing as a senior in high school. He's just a kid, but boy, is he talented.
You mentioned Malusi there. What is the latest on his injury? And if he's not available to go after getting hurt last weekend, going down last weekend, is this just all on Allen, or where do they look as far as further running back depth?
Well, I think so. So Braylon Allen, Malusi's the question mark on a knee injury last week. Braylon Allen is going to be featured. And then they had a redshirt freshman, Julius Davis from the Milwaukee area, Menominee Falls, Wisconsin. He emerged. Brady Shipper is a former walk-on. That it is a question, but Northwestern is the worst in the Big Ten against the ground to defend the rushing attack. So I don't know that it becomes a big issue this Saturday. It's Nebraska that I would point to, 11 days from now, because Nebraska has been in every game. Now they're good enough to lose a lot, but they have, against really good competition, they've been in every single game. So Nebraska is the one I would hope that they're trying to get to see where Malusi is and if he's still okay to go. I think they'd be okay against Northwestern without, but I think they'd want him to be available by the time they got to Nebraska and then Minnesota to finish.
Mike, we're up against a break, but didn't you cover the Ryder Cup? Weren't the last time we spoke with you, you have a restaurant or whatever. Did you ever get to play Whistling Straits after the Ryder Cup?
I did not go back and play the course after they played the tournament. I've played it a number of times over the years, the Straits course, and it's everything it looks like on TV. It is fantastic. If I go play a course I've already played once in my life, if I go play it again tomorrow, that would be my first choice. Now, I have others that I haven't played that would be above it for a first-time experience, but of all the courses I've played, that's by far the one I would go back and play tomorrow. And, yeah, I was talking to you guys coming back from Whistling Straits and heading to a wine bar that my wife and I own just north of Madison called Red and White. Now, you know what we did there? We combined both the red and white wine and red and white for the University of Wisconsin.
There you go. There you go. Sense. Very, very marketing smart. Mike, thank you, man. Appreciate what you do, and we'll have you on hopefully at the end of the year. They keep this run going. Appreciate it.
Yeah, guys, I'd like to do it. Thank you.
That's Mike Heller. Heller Sports, by the way, on Twitter. Appreciate his time. And, yeah, the Whistling Straits was my backdrop on my laptop for a long time because it's just gorgeous, the colors and the different shades of what they have with the bunkers and the dunes and the green.
Art's never invited you to go anywhere?
Who?
Art?
No, I got an email from Art about some trips coming up that he has, but
you take Eric.
It's not free.
You kind of owe him for the Rolling
Stones. That's right. Mm-hmm. By the way, we'll take a break here. Craig Smoak's off the radar. 5 o'clock, we'll have Gabe Eichert on the Oklahoma and Baylor game coming up. One other note, Mac Rhodes, who normally joins us on Tuesday, some of you have asked, will be with us, we think, tomorrow afternoon on tomorrow's show. And this is Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac. Of course, right now there's a chip shortage going on across dealerships around this country, and that's making for a little bit of a more difficult time than dealerships would like as far as getting you into new vehicles. But have no worry. If you get your name on the Choose Your Inbound Vehicle list right now over at Richard Carr, you can get your car or truck first as they arrive. You can drive a new car or truck sooner, whether it be the Buicks, GMCs, or Cadillacs as they arrived. So production is slowed, but cars and trucks are coming. As far as the options you can find over Richard Carr, check out the Sierra. It's got an ideal combination of power and strength combined with refinement and luxury to make Sierra the best truck on the road. If you're looking for a roomy SUV, consider a Buick, as their lineup of SUVs offer the size and versatility to fit every lifestyle. Or maybe you're looking for a combination of sophistication and power, well then check out the new Cadillac XT6 or the Cadillac Escalade. Cars and trucks are coming, so call or contact Richard Carr now and let them know you want to be on their inbound vehicle list today so you can get your vehicle before anyone else. If you're looking to save and drive today and you're not in the market necessarily for a new vehicle, well, Richard Carr is loaded with premium pre-owned cars and trucks that have all undergone a 172-point inspection before hitting the lot with dozens of lenders. Richard Carr says yes when others say no. And for those here in the Central Texas area, Richard Carr is your local hometown dealership. So give them a chance to earn your business with great prices, free oil changes on new cars and trucks, and superior service after the sale. Once again, give them a call or send them an email and get on that inbound vehicle list today to get your new vehicle before anyone else. Richard Carr, owned, operated, and run by loyal and proud Baylor Bears.
You know what would make this moment better? Pizza. Dough made from scratch and an Italian family sauce recipe pizza. 3 fresh signature cheeses making a melty blanket of perfect pizza. Bob Mock has owned Marco's Pizza franchises since 2013 and has been delivering pizza since 2001 and is the proud owner of 4 locations in the Waco area, in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to be open in Robinson. Order at marcos.com to make any moment better. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco is a hidden gem. They've got a great selection of spirits, wine, and the most extensive selection of craft beer in Waco in their gorgeous walk-in fridge. And they have an amazing array of high-end bourbons like Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek, Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. Great customer service and a convenient and speedy drive-through window. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Masters of Barbecue, kings of crazy good food, and the perfect sanctuary for sports, beer, and barbecue is Coach's XXX Smoke on Austin Avenue in downtown Waco and also on Highway 84 in McGregor. A menu filled with choices like a great offensive playbook, including 3 meat combos with sides, burgers, and sandwiches, wings, loaded giant spuds, and salads, crazy wings, chicken poppers, big boy fries, and smoking quesadillas, just some of their amazing appetizers. There's Coach Big Ol' Draft Beer, or order Zach's Spicy Bloody Mary or Coach's margaritas and mimosas while watching your favorite team play. Great pecan smoked barbecue, fun atmosphere with attention to detail, including a catering menu, and we'll quote your price to fit your budget. Coach's XXX Smoke on Austin Avenue in downtown Waco and walking distance to the great places to shop and enjoy, and also the original location on Highway 84 in McGregor. Great food, great price, great fun. Eat where the locals eat.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for Craig Smoak's Off the Radar. Brought to you by Pickup Outfitters. Since 1997, we've been outfitting trucks, SUVs, and vans at 220 Lake Air Drive or createacommotion.com.
All right, welcome back into Sikkim 365 Radio. Time for Off the Radar. Just taking a look at a few stories that we might not always get to in our general conversation, but I still will interject plenty of college football, even though we talk a lot of that, and the Cowboys when I need to. But let's start off with some college football, as there's a video making the rounds. It's going viral, so to speak. I don't know how this initially got leaked. I was looking around. I was trying to find the original post for this, and I'm not still sure exactly when this first burst onto the scene, other than it happened, within the last 3 to 4 hours. But you're about to hear some audio, or even, I don't know if Armstrong has the video, but it's hard to even make out anything on the video. It's a darkened bus, and on that bus, and the voice you will hear, is Texas defensive line coach Bo Davis. He's been around college football for a long time, was at Bama right before moving over to Texas, and has been around at a lot of places, but he was fed up after their loss to Iowa State this last Saturday. And what you're about to hear, some people are like, oh my gosh, I can't believe he talked to his players that way. Well, you're going to hear him talking to his players. He is fed up with the losing. And I don't know what set this off other than just the Iowa State loss itself and the fact they got their heads kicked in, especially in the second half. But whatever did set him off in a major way. So here is Texas defensive line coach. There's a video an audio that's going viral right now, and we'll see what everybody thinks after this. But this is Bo Davis talking to a bus full of players after the game against Iowa State.
Some of you need to get in the transfer portal. You want to go? Get in the mother. This shit ain't a game to me. If you think it's a game, get the off of this bus. I got my kicked, and you want to laugh? That's real. You think it's a joke? And some of you do transfer out of this motherfucker, because I'm tired of this. This real. And we want to laugh and joke. That.
So there was Bo Davis on a team bus, and you hear him talking about y'all want to joke and laugh, and so I'm thinking that's probably what set him off. I'm just assuming because he mentioned that, and there's nothing else, there's no other context, but clearly something upset him, and I can see after a loss like that, if players were joking around acting like it wasn't a big deal, that would probably be the ticket. But you hear him mention the transfer portal, you hear him mention how sick and tired he is, and a lot of people, a lot of Texas fans I see are loving this. They are absolutely loving this video and saying it's exactly what Texas needs. I'm seeing some other people, including some with some blue check marks, talking about, oh my gosh, he called the players MFers and whatever. But what are your thoughts on Bo Davis going off on the Longhorns bus?
Good for Bo. It's if you have played competitive sports at any level above T-ball, believe me, you've had a coach get after you. Now, maybe not to that level, but I can tell you when I was a freshman in high school, on my freshman football team, we lost a game. We were laughing and getting on the bus, and Coach Gaines, I'll say it right now, and I'll send this video to him if he didn't see it on Facebook. Coach Kevin Gaines unleashed on us at a Catholic high school, mind you. Not quite that bad, but it was pretty bad. And you know what? None of us were mad at Coach Gaines for it. We respected him. And the next thing he did was, come back to earth and do that. That's sports. That's how it happens. Did he call people some names? Yeah, but that's how you get their attention. They're kids. And, I think about the very funny scene in Bull Durham. How do I get their attention? Their kids scare them. Everybody get in the shower. And they throws the stuff around. That's how sports is. If you have a problem with Bo Davis, you don't know sports. He didn't call anybody a slur. He didn't call anybody anything like that. He went off on them because he thought their attitude was bad. And Texas clearly has at least one guy who needs to get in the transfer portal, and it's whoever shared that video.
I was going to say, what are your thoughts on whoever taped that and then put it out there?
Here's a quote. This is something that I was able to pull off of Google about Bo Davis. It's about time somebody did this. This is from a Texas fan. However, the facts that the video exists proves that this team is rotten to the core. I would wager that somebody thought this would get him fired. It's having the complete opposite effect with the fan base. It's the soft players from Herman's roster. Time to purge this blanking roster, get back to football. No more liberal blank studies. Kick the blanks out. Warning explicit language. It's almost cathartic to hear.
Yeah, I'm sure he felt cathartic after getting all of that out of his system, I would imagine. So, yeah, I don't have a problem with what he said. I mean, you look at the way that they're playing and some of the things that probably led up to that, outburst, and I'm sure in some ways it was absolutely justified. So I've definitely seen more than my fair share of Texas fans who are applauding this video. And, yeah, of course, some are like,
you ever seen Bo Davis?
Yeah, he's a big dude.
I wouldn't want to, he played.
He's been around a long time, man. He's been in a lot of different places.
Played at LSU.
Yeah. I mean, he's been all over the SEC. He's been at Texas, on a couple of occasions.
Yeah. Back at the end of Mac Brown's tenure.
He's a very well-respected.
Alabama.
Very well-respected assistant coach. And so, I wouldn't want him yelling at me like that. And, I think the fact that there is a video proves his point in some ways, that somebody was recording that and thought it would be a good idea to leak it. So we'll see what happens.
National champion assistant coach, LSU.
People who follow college football know who Bo Davis is. I mean, everybody knows who Bo Davis is. But, that was an interesting video, and we will see what happens, but that is quite the last couple of weeks for Texas football. It's been 40 plus days since their last win. You had the whole monkey situation with Jeff Banks on Halloween, biting the trick-or-treater, and Pole Assassin, of course, was a part of that story. You also had the Joshua Moore transfer following the report about the practice fight, or verbal fight with Steve Sarkisian, and now the Bo Davis bus video, and the losses keep coming, and so we'll see how they all get it together. But that was an interesting little clip going around. Speaking of video clips, speaking of teams who have been through a lot here lately, how about the Las Vegas Raiders?
Oh, man.
They had the whole John Gruden situation just a few weeks back. That's completely blown over now at this point, and unfortunately, a big reason why was because of just the horrific story involving wide receiver Henry Ruggs last week and the car wreck that killed a young woman and her pet dog. We talked about that a little bit. Ruggs obviously was cut very quickly afterwards, but it hasn't stopped there. I mean, the parallels are interesting, although the Raiders are far more serious nature. The Raiders have waived 2020 first-round pick Damon Arnett, and that means they have both of their first-round picks no longer on the roster from just the 2020 draft. That's not going to cut it. But they cut Damon Arnett, in which GM Mike Mayock called it a painful decision because Arnett had a video going around on social media where he was brandishing a gun and threatening to kill someone. So that was not going to go over very well. There's also the fact that he's dealing with a legal issue from a hit-and-run accident back in 2020. But the video and his behavior and just the bad decisions that went into making said video, holding a gun, threatening people, that was enough for the Raiders to decide, we're going to go ahead and cut bait here. So what a last 3-4 weeks it has been. He was a former number 19 overall pick. He was expected to be a big starter, and that was a part of the Khalil Mack trade that they had made. Yep. Damon Arnett, after just a very strange, boneheaded decision to make this very strange, boneheaded video, he is no longer on the Raiders.
Another report from Ian Rappaport yesterday, Damon Arnett in his rookie season wrecked 4 rental cars in just over a month. Jeez. Which means that his agent or somebody was renting these cars for him, because once you've done it twice, they're not they'll give you a mulligan. Bad things happen to everybody, but the second time you're not getting a rental car unless they just have no record, you're just going to company. And I don't know how Mayock makes it out of this, because they're going to try to blame Gruden, I'm sure, in a lot of this, but Damon Arnett is on Gruden. That's on Mayock and the staff.
From Jay Bird, he wasn't just brandishing a gun, he was showed 3 assault weapons.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Bill, there you go. Thank you for even further details there. But Damon Arnett no longer, thanks to a social media post, a member of the National Football League. You think that sinks in? I would hope so, but I'm not going to be optimistic on that.
No.
So there's a little story from the NFL. Speaking of the NFL, Tom Brady is anti-17th game. He's come out on the record as saying that, but was even far more interesting. And I'm curious to see, as we do get closer to the 17th game, we're seeing so many injuries. I'm curious to kind of see how that's viewed in hindsight. I know they're not going to change it anytime soon, but did you really need the extra regular season game? Is it going to be beneficial? Tom Brady doesn't seem to think so, but an even more interesting opinion is the fact that the taunting penalties have been a big topic of conversation in the NFL.
Well, last night's Bears game, Tony Corrente I hope that he goes back and watches that and goes, oh, man, I really messed up. Taunting has gotten way out of control. I don't know what they're – of course, Mike Tomlin after the game was like, yeah, we got to clean up the game. Of course you like it. It's why you won last night. But – and, of course, it was smart for Mike Tomlin not to be like, yeah, I think it's bad, but we got lucky. I don't know who the NFL is trying to protect with these really arbitrary taunting calls. And the one last night with Tony Correnti – that player whose name escapes me right now celebrates that all the time.
Walsh or whatever.
Yeah, whatever is, and all the time. And then Tony Correnti bumped into him. He didn't bump into Tony Correnti. And as soon as they made contact, Correnti got mad and threw it because he thought the player was bumping him. But again, this is why you maybe need a sky judge and just somebody in the official's ear to go, hey, that was an accident. Put your flag away.
Yeah, and there were even thoughts that maybe he leaned back into the player. He was lingering. I'm against the taunting rule completely. Now, there's certain things, he was lingering and facing the sideline and dancing around. It wasn't the fact that he was doing it to punter, which might have been what Correnti got. My God, it's a violent game where your job is to basically obliterate the person that you're across from. And they want to take away that with, I understand targeting, I understand launching, I understand some of that, but come on, man.
Yeah, well, Mike Tomlin, as Paul said, he is in favor of the tightening down on some of these penalties. He said, we're just trying to clean our game up. We embrace the responsibility that comes with being the role models that we are. He's also a member of their competition committee.
There you go.
This game being played at the highest level, we understand people who play at a lower level watch us and often mimic the things we do and how we conduct ourselves. And just largely, as a league competition committee specifically, there was a desire to improve in that area. That's been expressed to our guys. So there was Mike Tomlin, member of the competition committee, on the taunting rules. Don't know if you guys noticed, but today's the start of college basketball season. Yep. Like 18 games tipped off 2 hours ago. I think about an hour ago, another 20-plus games tipped off. Bob Jones is playing Wofford right now.
By himself.
I don't know who Bob Jones is, but he's down big right now to Wofford.
But there's 4 other guys, so it's not even fair because Bob Jones is like, look, Wofford, I'm going to kick your ass. And Wofford's like, all right, fine, Bob Jones. But
Jones versus
he needs
Wofford.
4 other guys.
Bob Jones versus Wofford is an actual game that's going on right now on the TV screen.
Yes. Greenville, South Carolina.
And Wofford is winning big, but there's countless games that have already gotten underway and countless others that'll be tipping off. There's like 10 every hour that are tipping off. So if you're a college basketball fan, like I know a lot of people in the studio are, today is your day, no doubt about. And there's going to be games tipping off all the way until, let's see, the last one, 9 o'clock tonight Central Time, which will be UCLA, number 2 team in the country, against CSU Bakersfield. So you got hours and hours and hours of college hoops to watch if that is up your alley. And looking at the time, I'll just leave it there, but those were a few stories off the radar.
Cassius Marsh was the player from the Chicago Bears on the taunting penalty. Is that right? It's pretty clear to everybody who saw it that I wasn't taunting. Unfortunately, that was a big play.
By the way, on Thursday, Craig, I want your opinion on Frank Gore versus Darren Williams.
I have that story right here, but I feel like we don't have time because we have a guest coming up.
We can do it Thursday.
I'll save it till Thursday. Frank Gore win that fight easily.
When we come back, Gabe Eichert, he played at Oklahoma. His thoughts about Oklahoma, Baylor, and the Big 12 and more. And this is 365 Sports and Sikkim 365 Radio. Marcos.com. Pizza lovers get it. 4 locations in the Waco area where we are, but there are over 1,000 Marcos pizza stores around the country. Unlimited, large, 2-topping pizzas, carry out only. Right now, $8.99 each. You can go online, Marcos.com. There's a code there as well to order it. $3 off large specialty pizzas, unlimited medium 1-topping pizzas for $6.99 each. Unlimited means you could order 5 or 10 or how many you want, maybe for a party or for some team that maybe finishes up a game or you're having a meal. Download the app, get 25% off your first menu price. They have crowd pleasers, catering with Marcos. Marcos with 4 locations in the Waco area: Robinson, Belmead, China Spring, and Woodway. Open for contact-free delivery and carry-out. Curbside pickup available at select locations. Marcos.com. Pizza lovers get it.
At Allen Samuels in Waco, we're celebrating the Black Friday sales event. Ram, bringing the first truck brand to take the top spot overall in new vehicle initial quality by J.D. Power. With a new 2021 Ram 1500 Quad Cab Lone Star, you can get total values up to $7,250 or 2.9% for 72 months, plus $2,000 in bonus cash. All first responders get an extra $500 and no payment for 90 days at Allen Samuels in Waco.
Come by. Let's be friends.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Baylor Scott & White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. The team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injuries, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott & White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Hey guys, sports betting season is in full force with football season entrenched and the NBA and NHL underway and the Major League Baseball playoffs. You need a sports book with integrity and longevity like BetUS.com. BetUS has been pioneers in the sportsbook industry for almost 3 decades, thriving and paying their loyal customer base. That's BetUS.com, and they have loads of bonuses like ours at BetUS.com. 125% bonus on promo code SICK'EM125 or a 200% bonus if you use crypto on promo code SICK'EM200. BetUS, known as America's favorite sportsbook. NFL, college football, MLB, UFC, PGA Golf. They've got it all at BetUS.com. So go to BetUS.com today and use promo code SICK'EM125 or SICK'EM200. That's BetUS.com, promo code SICK'EM125 or SICK'EM200.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, cause weight gain, and wreak havoc on your sexual desire and performance. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results, so if you're tired of being tired, I challenge you to man up and Google search Low T Waco or go online pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $150 a month, includes lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, follow-up visits compared to $395 a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T as board-certified physician consultations will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone available. Contact Petty Clinic Low T today, just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway. Petty Clinic Low T, helping men become the high-performance men they deserve to be. PettyClinicLowT.com or Google search Low T Waco.
Welcome back to Sick'em 365 Radio.
There it is. Touchdown. Tyquan Thornton yet again.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Ben Erlinson, who'll navigate you through today's financial climate. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
He played at Oklahoma, played in the NFL. Gabe Eichert, he's part of Sirius XM, the Big 12 today. And, of course, many other things. Joins us on Sick'em 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Has his own podcast with Teddy Lehman. In fact, I'll be a part of that, I believe, tomorrow night. I appreciate the invite from Gabe as well. Gabe, how much disappointment was there in Norman that Baylor lost to TCU that would have been more even bonus points, so to speak, for Oklahoma if they win?
Yeah, I think there's no doubt that Oklahoma wanted Baylor to be coming in on a victory and to have that be a really highly ranked, highly anticipated matchup. And it's unfortunate, right, that Chandler Morris arrived on the scene and played the way he did. He was just fantastic for TCU. But yeah, it's unfortunate. I think, all OU fans, all Baylor fans were really excited for the potential of that game, possibly being a top 10 matchup, with the new college football playoff rankings coming out tonight. But that's not going to be the case. But still, a very, very talented Baylor team. And I can assure you, after talking to a few members of Oklahoma's coaching staff this morning, that Baylor still has the Sooners' full attention. They know how talented they are on both sides of the football. And yeah, but the game's lost a little sizzle, Smokey, but it's okay. It's still going to be a fun one.
Gabe, Oklahoma has been, they're undefeated. They haven't really been the same team every single week. Who do you think they really are in the wake of now Caleb Williams being fully entrenched as the starter and everything we've seen since he started playing?
Yeah, I think that when Caleb Williams took over at quarterback, the ceiling of this football team was raised, right? And it's well documented, the struggles that Oklahoma has had defensively at times this year. But I will say, going into this game in Waco this weekend, it's going to be about as healthy as they've been on the defensive side of the ball all season long. And that includes, week one. So I know that there is some excitement in Norman about having all of the pieces available on the defensive side of the ball for this game. So the defense has been a work in progress, and it's been confusing. They haven't found a ton of consistency, but a lot of that had to do with missing key players. And even at a program like Oklahoma, where you've got a lot of highly recruited guys, it's hard to overcome having 3-4 starters out of the lineup on the defensive side of things. So I think right now there's still a bit of a mystery to me, because if in a perfect world, Caleb Williams continues his improvement at the quarterback position and just kind of unlocks this offense completely. But they've had some offensive line issues. I think in this one, I think Apuika is a bad matchup for the interior of this offensive line. So they're going to have to take that into account. But yeah, I think when you just look at Oklahoma as a team right now, it's kind of up in the air. Like, if Caleb Williams continues to improve, that offense is going to be really good, boys. Really, really good. And they can stay healthy on defense. They got a lot of experienced guys that are going to be back on the field. They can play better defense than we've seen played in Norman for a while now. So, yeah, I think it all comes down to if they reach their potential as a team or not. And I think if they do that, they're a top 5 team in the country.
So, Gabe, on Caleb Williams, everybody knew, he was a high-profile recruit, so it's not as though he's just a complete, some 3-star, walk-on or something that, had to be called into action. He was a highly rated guy, but still nobody thought that this would be anything but the Spencer Rattler show this year. What's that been like to kind of watch unfold the quarterback situation since that Texas game, and how frightening? You just kind of said it there. If he continues to improve, they'll be frightening, but he doesn't even have a full grasp of the offense yet. Like, he's playing backyard football in a lot of cases and still just finding ways to make plays that guys who are doing it by the book can't seem to make. How scary is that?
Yeah, he's a special talent, right? And we've had some good quarterback play in Norman over the last several years, and he's really kind of a combination of all three of the guys, right? When you're talking about Jalen Hurts, Kyler Murray, and Baker Mayfield, it's like almost if you combined all three of those guys, he's got strength that each one of those guys had. And, yeah, he was the number one quarterback in the country, coming out of high school. This was a kid that a bunch of people wanted, and there's just no denying the talent. And that was the interesting part, because I had some conversations, in the middle of training camp, towards the end of training camp, with some people inside the program, and there were more than a couple people that said, "Hey, the Williams kid is the most talented quarterback we've got." And he brings the run element to things, guys. He just the things he can do with his legs that Spencer Rattler couldn't do. Spencer Rattler was starting at quarterback for the Sooners because he was the more reliable guy. He was more efficient in the pass game. He recognized what defenses were doing better. But once Spencer Rattler started making mistakes, right, and he was not doing the things that had him on the field instead of Caleb Williams, I think Lincoln Riley looked at it and went, "Hey, let's go with the more talented guy." And the offense has kind of taken off. Now, it hadn't been perfect.
Right.
And Caleb still got to continue to grow, especially as a passer. I think his processing needs to speed up. I think he needs to play with more disciplined eyes in the passing game. I think that would really take their offense and his play to another level. But you got to remember, he's only played a couple games in his college football career, and he didn't play high school football last year, right? Because he's from the D.C. area, and they didn't play because of COVID. So, I mean, what this guy is doing, it's pretty special. And I'll say this, he is very well liked by his teammates. I mean, it's obvious. I'm down on the sideline for the games, and there's no doubt that he has given this team some energy, and they have rallied around him. So he's a special talent, and I'm very excited to see how his career plays out in Norman.
No way anyone's ever questioned Lincoln Riley's decision-making on quarterbacks. They've had some, obviously, transfers that were fantastic and won a Heisman. But to think that Caleb Williams was coming on campus, because he was committed to. Spencer Rattler was a Heisman Trophy favorite at the start of the year on campus. And Tanner Mordecai has been in the Heisman conversation up until the last couple of weeks at SMU. And then we saw what Chandler Morris did at TCU. Can you imagine that quarterback room, how talented it was?
Yeah, I can't be. And that's, Smokey, it is keeping quarterback talent is becoming more and more difficult, right? Mm-hmm. With how the transfer portal works. I mean, it just is. And I think Lincoln Riley has an incredible amount of respect across college football when it comes to not only developing quarterbacks, but his evaluation of what quarterbacks can be. So I think when you look at what Tanner Mordecai is doing, you look at what Chandler Morris did against Baylor last weekend, it's not a surprise to a lot of people here in Norman because, we had heard a lot of good things about Chandler Morris. We had heard he was carving the defense up as the scout team quarterback last year. Now, Tanner Mordecai, and I know a lot of people, when they looked at the battle a couple years ago between him and Rattler, and they're like, oh, is it really a quarterback battle? I'm here to tell you it was. I mean, it was because he's a really talented player. So Lincoln has done, it's kind of this thing that feeds itself now, right? Baker first overall pick, Kyler first overall pick, and now, quarterbacks want to come play for Lincoln Riley, but you also can only put one guy on the field at a time. So you have some talented guys that come in, end up not getting on the field, and end up transferring to other places. And those guys, I think they're really attractive to a lot of programs around the country because Lincoln knows what he's doing and when it comes to QBs. So, yeah, there's been a ton of quarterback talent here in Norman. And Caleb Williams, he may only be a 3-year guy, but class of 2022, I think Lincoln's got Malachi Nelson lined up. He's the number 2 quarterback, and the only guy he's behind is Arch Manning. So I don't expect the the streak of good quarterback play for Oklahoma to stop anytime soon, boys.
Gabe, I know this isn't an Oklahoma or Baylor question. What would you do if you were TCU with Chandler Morris? Now they've got the excuse that Max Duggan is still a little banged up, and they can kind of hide behind that for a little while he gets healthy. But going forward, what would you do? Would you let him fight it out in spring?
I'd play Morris, and I want to make it very clear. I cover the Big 12 very closely. Having my show for Sirius XM, and I'm a big Max Duggan fan. I think the kid's tough as hell. I think he's the leader of that football team. He brings things in the run game. He's just tough, man. And you got to go back, last year before the season, go through the hard issue. You can never question that kid's toughness. But just watching, I was watching the tape of TCU's offense against Baylor today. Chandler Morris, he just kind of unlocked some things in the pass game for them. He was seeing the defense well. He handled the pressure that Baylor brought extremely well. He just made some big time throws. It's kind of similar to what happened here at Oklahoma, right? I think that the ceiling of the offense there at TCU is probably higher if you've got Chandler Morris, the quarterback, with what he can do as a passer. And Duggan he's worked on his passing game a lot, and I know he's put hours and hours into it. And we've seen improvement from him in the passing game this year. But Morris, just in the one game, and I know it's only one game, just more decisive with the football, finding windows with the football. Even at times moving the defense with his eyes. Like he clearly has a good grasp of what they want to do offensively, and just from the one game we've seen, it seems like
let me see if we
may have lost Gabe there for a second. No, there he is. There you are. We lost you there for a second.
You got me?
Yeah, now we do. Sorry about that. Yeah, we got you now. There you go.
Okay, basically, I said that I think that, just from what we saw last week, it seems to me that Chandler Morris raises the ceiling of that team's offense. And I know that you look at Max Duggan, kid's the leader of the team, he's captain. It's not easy to tell a guy like that to take a seat, but man, that passing game looked pretty dang good to me with Chandler Morris at QB. So that's going to be a tough decision for Jerry Kill for sure.
No doubt. Gabe, how much has Lincoln Riley not making his press conference today for whatever reason that was? How much, speculation has that caused amongst the Sooner faithful online? Seen a lot of people wondering, hey, what's going on here? And some LSU fans having fun with that as well.
Yeah, that was interesting. And I'll tell you this, here in about an hour and a half, I'm hosting Lincoln Riley's coach's show. So if he doesn't show up, that'll be real interesting, not only for OU fans but for me. But no, I don't think that I don't think Lincoln Riley has any intention of leaving Oklahoma. And you have to understand. I mean, he's got a young family. He has everything he wants here. He can pretty much do whatever he wants. I mean, the administration at Oklahoma gives him. They don't ask him to do a lot of things he doesn't want to do, and he's winning a ton of games, man. I mean, ultimately, what else could you ask for as a coach? He can be here as long as he wants to. Basically, got all the stability in the world. I understand that the last three coaches at LSU have won a national championship, but I also understand how Ed Orgeron and Les Miles' tenure ended there at LSU. I mean, you got to look at Oklahoma. Bob was here for 20 years.
Right? Yeah.
I mean, one thing I think that a lot of people miss when it comes to, and I think it's similar to Matt Campbell staying put there at Iowa State, man. Quality of life is important to these guys, and it's really, really important to them. And I think that Lincoln Riley's got everything he wants right now and really, really loves the balance of what's going on for him as the head coach of Oklahoma. And I can tell you, he's, whenever it comes, like he's excited for the challenge of going to the SEC as well. So I would be very, very surprised. And he ain't a USC guy, I can tell you that.
Yeah.
He doesn't. No, absolutely not. So, yeah, I have seen some of the LSU's fan base. I've seen the rumors, but I don't think there's any truth to said rumors, boys.
Well, we'll wrap it up with this, Gabe. Gabe Eichert here with us, Sirius XM, Big 12 today. Gabe, as far as Baylor, you talked about him a little bit. You talked about Oklahoma getting healthy on defense and the improvement there, and obviously, Caleb Williams offensively has opened some things up. You saw that TCU tape. There was some good and some bad in there for the Bears, and I would expect a much sharper performance this Saturday. But what, when looking at them, does stand out to you and does, if anything, draw your eyes or your concern for Oklahoma this weekend?
Man, I can talk about this Baylor team for a long time, guys, but I'll try to keep it kind of short. Jeff Grimes, his system may be my favorite offensive system in all of college football. I admit outside zone is my favorite play in all of college football. I think it's the hardest run play to defend in all of football because of the variables it creates for a defense. And year one, I think Jeff Grimes has done a tremendous job of putting Gary Bohannon in situations to succeed. Right? He's not asking him to drop back, 20 times a game. They're running the football. Abram Smith has been such an effective player for them. I mean, he's doing such a great job in that outside zone scheme. They mix in some of that toss, pin, pull stuff, but I think they have taken a handful of concepts and they run it out of different formations, different shifts, different motions. And they've just gotten really good at them, guys. And they can do it in 10 personnel. They can do it in 11 personnel. They can do it in 12 personnel. And it carries over each week. And they just, as far as the offensive line, I think that the sum is better than the parts. I think they do a good job together. I think they work well together. It's clear that they communicate well before the snap and after the snap. So I've been impressed with how efficient the system has been so far. That all being said, even though I think Tyquan Thornton is a fantastic wideout, I think R.J. Sneed's had a really solid year. There's clearly limitations when it comes to Gary Bohannon in their passing game. And I think you're starting to see some of those show up a little more. He's made some mistakes lately, costly mistakes. And one of the reasons, the number one reason I think that's happened is he, at times, is deciding where he's going with the football before the ball's even snapped. And you just can't do that. You can't do that. And he's paid because of it. So he is, I think the game this weekend, it all comes down to whether or not the Baylor Bears can get the run game going. Right? If it becomes a game where Gary Bohannon has to drop back, he's got to throw it 20, 25 times, I do not think that'll work out well for Baylor. I don't, because Oklahoma's defensive line, it's healthy again, and they got a good group up front that I think can get after Baylor's offensive line if it turns into, a bunch of passing situations, a bunch of third and longs for Baylor. And then defensively, man, they're impressive. I think they've got a little bit of a weakness at corner. I think that's been exposed over the last couple of games. You saw the big plays they gave up in the vertical passing game to TCU. Nothing complicated there, just guys getting run by. But Jalen Petrie may be my favorite player in all of college football.
Fair.
He maximizes every ounce of talent that he's got. I love the way the kid plays the game. He plays football the way it's supposed to be played. And his versatility and how Dave Aranda uses him, in coverage, in the blitz game. He's one of my favorite players in all of college football to watch on tape. I think he's spectacular, and if I had to vote now, it'd be very close between him and Malcolm Rodriguez for Oklahoma State for Defensive Player of the Year here in the Big 12. I think he's that good. I think he's been that good. I love watching him. And then I'm glad that Terrell Bernard is able to get back on the field. He's doing some really good things. Dylan Doyle also is a guy that at times, man, he jumps off the tape. So I love that linebacker combination for him. But this game is going to come down to what that defensive line can do. And I know Ika gets a lot of the attention, but Gabe Hull, I think he's having a good year. They've got a couple guys that rotate in, play really hard, the physical players, but they're going to have to stop that. And I wouldn't be surprised if Dave Aranda brings some pressure and kind of forces the issue with Caleb Williams, forcing him to make quick decisions. But then again, a lot of teams that have had success against Sloan, Oklahoma down this year, they've played a bunch of deep zone coverage and forced them to be patient. So, and it's going to be a chess match, though. I know that. Lincoln Riley versus Aranda, that's going to be fun, boys. And I said I would keep it short, and I failed miserably. I apologize, guys.
It's okay. Gabe, I'll talk to you tomorrow night, buddy. Look forward to it, you and Teddy. Thanks for your time. Great insight.
Boys.
Thank you. That's Gabe Eichert.
All right, Smokey. Yeah, should
too.
be a good one Saturday.
Can't wait. Big 12 today, Sirius XM, former Oklahoma. He started 4 years at OU, redshirt freshman year, and then played his 4 years during his time at Oklahoma.
Yeah, good stuff there. And kind of the main things we're all looking at, obviously Baylor, defensive line, they're going to have to get some pressure. Something Miranda talked at great length about yesterday. Also going to have to improve the communication in their secondary, and that'll be vital, obviously. You saw Quentin Johnston running all over Baylor last weekend. You saw Texas Xavier Worthy the week before that. And safe to say Oklahoma's got some wideouts starting with Marvin Mims and Hasselwood. And so it's going to be a tough challenge. I'm very curious to see how Gary Bohannon performs this week because I do think they're going to try to get after him. So should be a lot of fun. By the way, one college football note, Cal USC is canceled due to COVID-19. First football bowl subdivision game of the entire year to be canceled because of COVID issues. Last week, Cal had 20 players or something and coaches that were out because of COVID. And
I read that, and there was something about the protocol.
Yeah, the quarterback, Chase Garbers, came out with a lengthy note last night or something, and he was talking about the protocols and what the players have been trying to do and how it's unfair and all sorts. And I don't know that situation to every detail, so I'm not sure what the big conflict is. But, yeah, there's some players that are getting frustrated, had, lots of guys missing last week in a loss, and now this week they're calling the game off entirely. So, first time that's happened in FBS all year.
This is not a political statement, but is it surprising that would be one of the first ones?
No, you know what?
If you had to guess, yeah.
It could have been Auburn and Vanderbilt.
Sure.
I don't know. I'd be surprised if one had a more strict policy or more loose. Because I don't think we really know the best policy that works, but they had an outbreak and it happened. I'm glad it's only one. Heck,
yeah. Last year we didn't know until sometimes Friday. By the way, one of the
kind of had to figure was going to happen once, though, right?
It kind of made me go, damn. That's the only time when we lived at that almost daily last year, even here. Coach Lake at Washington. I know we have John McClain next. This is from the mother of the player who he shoved, and everyone can look at it the way you want. We trusted Coach Lake with our son and would 100% do it again. His intent to ask his players to show self-control to the opposing team was good, even if emotion clouded the message. He recruited, coached, and prepared our son for the NFL and did it the right way.
His bigger problem is not shoving a player. It's hiring an offensive coordinator who's terrible.
That's the way bigger issue, yes. The stuff the shoving the player thing, you can say it's a bad look, and rightfully so if you want, but I think they're far more upset about his offense not being able to produce much of anything, more so than that incident on the sideline.
But in this day and age, a coach puts his hands on the players, and my God.
Yeah, but if he was 10-0 right now, that would not be nearly as big of a story. Why is it as big of a story? Because he's not winning football games. So, yeah, you're right. He's got to be careful. He can't afford too many misses like that, but not a firing offense in my mind.
The Nicky Collin era, by the way, officially, they had the exhibition game or two. It officially starts tonight at the Farrell Center for Baylor women's basketball. And so that starts tonight. The men unveil their national championship banner. God, I wish somebody else was around to watch that, and the ring ceremony prior to their game on Friday. This is Sick on 365 Radio.
If you are looking to buy a new home or sell the one you're in, or probably both, sometimes it's both, unless you're a first-time home buyer, especially if you're a first-time home buyer. In this market, you're going to need somebody who can guide you through all the nonsense, and that's the Lance Donaldson and the Donaldson family team, brokered by eXp Realty. Give them a call, 254-214-3713, or just Google Lance Donaldson, eXp Realty, Waco, Texas, or lancedonaldson.exprealty.com. Again, it's a crazy seller's market now. You really want to have somebody in your corner who can help you get a great price on the house you're selling, which you're probably going to get, but you're going to get the maximum price and make sure you make the maximum return on investment for the house you're going to buy. That's Lance Donaldson and his team, brokered by eXp Realty. So give them a call, 254-214-3713.
It's time for some high school football. Berg Colgan Ford proudly celebrates the Panthers, Cadets, Lions, and all the Central Texas football teams as they march their way through the season and down the field. Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Berg Colgan Ford. We'd love to show you our Broncos, Raptors, and Mustangs. These vehicles are winners with their sporty options and designs. Nominate who you think deserves the Built Ford Tough Player of the Week at FordPlayerOfTheWeek.com. Visit us anytime at BKFord.com, making buying your next Ford simple at BK Ford.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links. And you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from Select, Choice, or Prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strip, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Erie Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, family-owned and operated must-visit pizza place in Waco. Fantastic pizza by the slice, or get the whole pie to share. Great happy hour specials every single day, and it's not just pizza. Great wings. You have to try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries, pizza pillows, and more. Dine in for a great hangout or carry-out. Order online at shortyspizzashack.com, or do yourself a favor and bring your crew to the restaurant at 12th and Bagby. Shorty's Pizza Shack. Tell them Paul sent you by.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with John McClain of the Houston Chronicle, brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus, and best in metal, steel, and pipe for large or small projects, with 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943.
We're now joined by the Hall of Famer, John McClain, Houston Chronicle. Texans, of course, going through a very difficult season. The NFL kind of churning through it. John, thanks for your time, as always, on Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Has there been any kind of an uproar where at least the league and owners are discussing how many penalty flags seem to be thrown each game, or is it even more than normal?
That kind of thing gets revisited in the off season before they have their big meetings in March. The competition committee, which is loaded with owners, general managers, and coaches, they meet, they make recommendations, and then the owners vote on it. The coaches don't have a strong voice about rules changes, and the taunting rule is the one that's going to get the most attention, because I feel terrible what they've done to the officials. It's so subjective. It should be where something's blatant. Looking at a sideline is not taunting. Slamming a football after you've sacked a guy and recovered the strip sack and slamming all by his head to celebrate, that's taunting. Holding a football out as you're crossing the goal line, that's taunting. And I don't blame the officials. I blame the NFL for putting him in this situation. They've given him so many rules with so many interpretations. It's an impossible assignment.
Yeah, John, Tony Corrente last night, of course, kind of stepped in it. What did you think of all that? And you know, is he basically kind of a prisoner of what you just said?
Well, there was no reason to kind of lean into Marsh as he was going off. He'll get called on the carpet for that. Can't imagine he would be fined or suspended. You know, there was a call earlier that cost them a touchdown. Bears would have won the game. They had to kick a field goal. So think about the impossible task of officiating today before instant replay, slow-mo, super slow-mo, high-definition TV, and so many cameras around the stadium that it's almost impossible not to make mistakes. And I don't know why anybody'd want to be an official. Most of them have jobs that pay a whole lot better. And I actually feel sorry for the officials at a time like this. As I said earlier, I blame it on the NFL.
John, what do you think of the end of the Odell Beckham era? And I say that word loosely, in Cleveland. And what do you think the market looks like for him now that he's cleared waivers?
Well, Craig, it was an era, an ERROR, because he hadn't done squat in the last 2 years because he's been hurt. You know, he was great his first 3 years with the Giants. He had 35 touchdowns his first 3 years with the Giants, and I think he's had like 16 since. This was his slowest start yet, and he's supposed to be healthy. He's always been a magnet for controversy, but he's 29 years old now, and I imagine he would want to go to a playoff contender. And the way the NFL's set up right now, especially in the AFC, there are a lot of playoff contenders. He should not let money get in the way of trying to go to a Super Bowl, because after the season, then he can negotiate a new contract.
John, where do you think he fits the best as far as somebody who can handle all of the drama that comes with OBJ?
You'd like to think, Paul, there won't be as much drama now that he's older. And I would think the Raiders, after they cut Henry Ruggs, after that terrible tragedy, the Raiders are tied for first place. They just got beat by the Giants. They've overcome Gruden's firing, that controversy. Henry Ruggs, now that idiot DB Damon Arnett threatening people with guns on social media, they've cut him. They need some good news, and they could use him not just on the field to replace Ruggs, but it would give them kind of a shot of adrenaline. Give me the Raiders at 5-3 than Seattle at 3-5. Now, if Green Bay wants them to come up and play with Aaron Rodgers, that's good too. But I think that he's definitely going to go to a team that's a contender. That doesn't rule out many in the AFC, because I think there's like 11 teams that are separated by 3 games with 8 or 9 left.
John, the Aaron Rodgers saga, I guess he'll be able to play next. Obviously, it's been a weird week, and it's been a long stretch. Love didn't play well. They lost, didn't muster much defense against Kansas City. Your thoughts about, was there ever a possibility he could be suspended longer, or was there a possibility, or is there a possibility Green Bay gets fined?
Well, first of all, I said before the season on every show I do, 11 a week, that I thought if you're dumb enough to not get vaccinated, knowing the rules as they are, and you get COVID-19 and you cost your team a game and say it's the difference in home field advantage, then you've let down your team, you've let down yourself, your fans, everybody. I don't care what people think about getting vaccinated or not unvaccinated. Those are the rules agreed on by the Players Association, and you got to follow them. So he lied about it, and then he refused to wear a mask. The Packers knew he was violating the rules. Players across the league have been fined for not wearing masks. There are cameras in every room of every facility other than the shower or the bathroom. So if Tom Brady's suspended for 4 games for letting a little air out of footballs, I think he should be suspended for more than 4. I think the Packers, who blatantly flaunted it, should be docked the number 1 draft choice. But all indications are they're not. The NFL doesn't have the footballs to do it, so they're just going to fine him, which is nothing for a guy making $35 million a year, and the Packers bringing home hundreds of millions in profit. I think the NFL knew about it, but you can't fine yourself.
John, I have 2 questions for you. One, if you got the report card that you gave the Texans in your column today, what would you have been allowed to do for the rest of your life?
Well, my parents, first of all, I would have been grounded every day for the rest of my life till I was old enough to leave home. And truthfully, sometimes when I was in high school at Richfield, my grades were almost that bad. But I tried to be generous, but it's hard to be generous when you're covering a team that is 1-8 with an 8-game losing streak and just stunk it up against a terrible Miami team. I also have a thing, instead of best and worst, I call it worse and best, and it was hard coming up with some best.
Yeah, he wanted us to ask him about Joey McGuire.
Yeah, no, I was going to ask you about that. Baylor loses to TCU, and Chandler Morris was spectacular. And then the Joey McGuire news pops pretty quickly. He's now in Lubbock. He's taken James Blanchard, one of the recruiting guys, with him, and he's had, again, his hair's on fire, full throttle. Your thoughts about Joey McGuire?
First of all, I was in Fort Lauderdale with a chance to get out, hang out in the sun on the beach, and hang out and eat and have drinks on the water. But no, I stayed in my room to watch the Bears. And when Bohannon threw that last interception, I threw up. And then I went out and partied. And so I'm happy about the chance to beat Oklahoma. Also happy about the start of basketball season, as everybody is. And as far as Joey McGuire, I never met him, but I know the high esteem he was held by Baylor fans. I thought it was such a smart move by Tech to get a guy who has such connections in the recruiting. That's where they're going to be hurt losing him in recruiting. Wish him, he and his family, the best of luck. And I've been telling all my Red Raider buddies down here, they're like, we hired some position coach from Baylor. I said, guys, give him a chance. You're going to like Joey McGuire. And that's going to be a tough guy for Dave Aranda to replace because he was a multifaceted coach.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it, John.
Thank you, guys. Sick 'em.
John McClain, Hall of Fame writer. College basketball, 2 of the highlighted games. Tonight, Kansas at Michigan State, and then followed by Duke and Kentucky for the Blue Bloods. Baylor opens up again Friday when they unveil the national title.
I want to pass along an interesting tweet from John Wildner, who covers the Pac-12 probably as well as anybody, right? Over there was the San Jose Mercury, I believe, and various other newspapers. But he's been, following this Cal story pretty closely on the game being canceled this weekend and the issues they faced last weekend. And he's got a lot of people in his mentions talking about like what the Berkeley city policy is and how that may be in conflict with what the university did. Anyway, it sounds like a big mess. It sounds like there was a lack of communication or a lack of understanding somewhere along the way. And as a result, Cal was without a bunch of guys last week and now having to cancel their game against USC. But it is interesting that John Wilner put out there, in my opinion, Jimmy Lake has coached his final game at Washington, and Justin Wilcox will be hired by UW within a month. So he just threw that out there, and that's an interesting idea. So
he's kind of ingrained. We've had John on to discuss a few things, especially with the Pac-12 and others. So. Well,
if you're Justin Wilcox and you're fed up with what's going on with politically or medically or whatever, and maybe that's enough to make you go, you know what, maybe I could go find somewhere else where this is not going to be as much of a hassle. I don't know, but that was just of interest that he threw that out there, especially given all the talk about Jimmy Lake as well.
Might need to have someone on tomorrow to discuss that, by the way. All right, when we come back. It's been hopefully a good day for you, the chat room. And oh, by the way, there was a couple of things someone was a little upset about. We didn't answer a question, but we were able to iron it out in the text room, and I appreciate that as well. We have the text line, 254-339-1122. I've said this before, and I'll say it again before we go to Paul's. I sometimes will go there in the evenings, an hour or two or three after our show because of the replays, and then some are continuing to discuss things because you're just now watching it. And I'll try to get back with you on that. We cannot respond to everybody, but it was really great that we were able to iron some things out. Turned out to be both of us think the same way about many things in college football, and he's a huge Cincinnati fan and wishes he could start with the Big 12 tomorrow. The top 5 is next.
BetUS.com. Look, if you are a gambler or you're looking to get in the gambling realm, BetUS.com, you see the picture behind me there, has everything you need. They've got action on almost every sport around the world. So whether it's NBA, NHL, NFL, college football, horses, casino, they've got it all at BetUS.com. Use our promo code SICK'em125 for 125% bonus on cash, or SICK'em200 if you use crypto. That's 200%. So go to BetUS.com right now. They're the 3-decade leader. Use promo code SICK'em125 or SICK'em200.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio with socially distanced seating for your enjoyment. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs and veggie burgers too. State Fair tornado fries, nachos, and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, everyone. This is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like mortgage lending, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Riverbend Liquor and
Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco, is a hidden gem. They've got a great selection of spirits, wine, and the most extensive selection of craft beer in Waco in their gorgeous walk-in fridge. And they have an amazing array of high-end bourbons like Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek, Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. Great customer service and a convenient and speedy drive-through window. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55, presented by Champion Salon and Barber. To book your appointment, go to championsalonandbarber.com.
Top 5 coaches will be back in 2021, despite the hot seats. By the way, speaking of champions, Kevin Gritton, owner of Champions, stopped by the studio today. Got the dime tour. Cool. Armstrong wouldn't give him the whole quarter tour. I mean, it was Armstrong's choice, but
he is so hard to deal with.
I know he is. But yeah, Kevin stopped by today. Always great to see my buddy Kevin. Top 5 coaches will be back in 2021, despite hot seats. And I did not include Steve Sarkisian on this list. Comment room because he's not on the hot seat.
He's not on the hot seat.
Because he's not. And so people he's going to be back. He's not in trouble right now. I could put top 5 players from his team that should be in the transfer portal. That might be one that we do later. Number 5, Manny Diaz from Miami. Look, he was in some trouble a few weeks ago, but they've rolled off a few wins here. If they beat Florida State this week, you can take him straight off of it because that's a rivalry game. But who knows what's going to happen in that one. But I think Manny Diaz is off for right now. Miami has other problems that supersede Manny Diaz. I don't think Manny Diaz is necessarily the problem. I think he stepped into something that maybe only the coaches who take that job understand what they're up against. It has nothing to do with talent. It has nothing to do with anything. It's facilities, it's leadership, it's everything above the head coach at the University of Miami that needs to change when it comes to how they approach their athletics, especially their football program.
Well, for losing to Eric King early in the season, they've been able to right the ship a little bit. They've actually won 3 games in a row now at this point, and I'd say they'd get bowl eligible against Florida State this weekend. So, yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to fire a guy who's probably going to end up winning 7 or 8 games because I'd expect him to beat Duke and, Virginia Tech. We'll see sandwiched in between those. But I do expect him to beat FSU. So, yeah, that'd be win number 6. Could get 7, could get 8, could get 9 with a bowl game. So, yeah, I think he's seen that cool off a little bit, unless, Mario Cristobal was to dial alums and go, I will be there, just let me know when. Yeah. Then you'd make a move. But without that occurring, I mean, yeah, I think you got to stick it out.
Yeah, he can get a better job than that. And I think part of the reason that he was on the hot seat is people thought they could get Cristobal, but that's, I don't think, realistic given USC and LSU being in the water. Number 4, Dino Babers at Syracuse. Up and down, and he's been on the hot seat, but I think he'll be back. I think he's done enough to keep that job, but he does need to really show some steps forward in the next season.
I wish I could tell you really anything about Syracuse football, but not on my radar very much. Babers has been there a long time now. So, yeah, I can imagine some of it's just all right, or is it just time for something different as opposed to maybe what he's doing? But, yeah, I mean, they're also 1 game away from bowl eligibility. Not sure that'll happen this weekend on the road at Louisville, and then they got 2 top 25 games. So that's how he closes out his 3-game stretch. It has to win one of those 3, which will be interesting. I guess the best bet would be this weekend at Louisville, and then you've got NC State on the road, who's number 19 right now, and Pitt, who's number 25. So. Yeah, interested. That one seems like it's an every year thing with Babers and Syracuse, at least for the last 3 years.
Yeah. I just kind of forgot him on the radar.
I'm telling you, what? Yeah. They're just kind of there. Yeah.
Number 3, Neil Brown, West Virginia. I know that West Virginia fans are mad at Neil Brown, but I think that their late season, calling it a full resurgence would be disingenuous, but the way that they've played better down the stretch, and that, their problem really starts at quarterback. And if they can get that figured out, then maybe Neil Brown isn't as dumb as you all think he is. So the people don't like him. I think he gets another go-round at West Virginia.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never really looked into West Virginia's potential coaching candidates because I don't think it's ever gotten that far along. But I'm curious to know who they would feel like they've got lined up, because you don't make a move without having something lined up, or at least something pretty good in mind. So I don't know who out there fans feel would be better than Neil Brown. I think he's a pretty good coach. I think he absolutely has to change his quarterback. I mean, he has to. It's like Charlie Brewer at Baylor after a while. It's like
Adrian Martinez.
It's the same thing. Like they have to change their quarterback and just see either Garrett Green or transfer portal or something. But, I mean, the Daggy thing, we've been there, done that. He can show something every once in a while, but not nearly often enough. And I think Brown makes a change, gets at least next year, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Number 2, our buddy Philip Montgomery from Tulsa. Look, started out the year, it was looking pretty bleak. I know that they, tripped over their own feet at the Cincinnati game, which is a gut punch, but I think that they've played well enough in the month of October and now here into the first part of November that Phil Montgomery keeps his job. Plus, they lost a lot of talent off of the last couple of years' teams. Give Philip Montgomery a chance. He'll get people back there to Tulsa, and I think getting rid of him would be a huge mistake.
I hope so. I like him, and they've had, a handful of teams that, last year's team was hellacious fun to watch. I do hope so. Yeah.
Here's the other thing. That conference is about to change too.
Yeah. No, you're right.
That conference is about to change. So, look, what you might be struggling with right now, he might start winning that conference regularly. They might be one of the best teams in it. So the conference is about to change wholeheartedly. And number 1.
Well, I want to say one thing on Montgomery. I think it'll depend. I don't think, whatever happens this year will probably get him canned, but I mean, what is Tulsa's expectation? I mean, obviously they're not going to go compete for national championships. Like, we know that. But is it, hey, just make a bowl game every 3 years? I mean, is that good enough to keep a job? Because if so, he can do that. He'll absolutely be able to do that. But if it's like every year we want like a bowl game's a sure thing or whatever, then that's going to be a little bit more problematic. I mean, you talk about up and down, 6 wins, 10 wins, 2 wins, 3 wins, 4 wins, 6 wins, 3 wins this year. So been quite the roller coaster, but like Monty and hope he keeps that for a while.
Yeah, and number 1, and confirmed kind of by Edgar Thompson, although this could change if he loses in the next 3 weeks. Dan Mullen at Florida. I just think that they're right now in the spot that, do you really want to go against LSU and USC right now with your facilities not done, trying to get a new head coach and paying Dan Mullen a massive part of his buyout? I think it might be worth it just to let him stick it out another year and see what happens. I don't know if it's going to get better. I don't, right now it doesn't look like it is, but who are you going to get? And Florida's a big dog. I mean, they can go get most anybody they want, but right now that job is not what it used to be. Currently, it could be, and it probably will be. I know they're building a lot of things, but they probably need to be a little more careful with that situation.
Yeah,
this might be a Scott Frost issue.
I don't know whether or not what Nebraska did with Frost was lack of options on either side, but maybe sometimes something starts a trend. Remember when the kid from Kane High School in Houston said he wasn't going to play his senior year? We said, that's one of the absolute exceptions. And like a week or 2 or 5 later, the Quinn Ewers story popped as well. I'm hoping that it slows down. Do you realize the story that was earlier this week? $533 million in dead money with coaches. Changes since 2010, and I just don't see how that can continue. Maybe sometimes it's good not to do something.
Well, and one of the schools who's paying out the most dead money is that one right there, Florida.
Yeah,
so,
no question.
Again, got to stop doing it. And maybe if you don't pay out so much dead money, you can keep your facilities up to what your university is. And the other thing is that what's weird about the University of Florida, if you ever go there, their facilities anywhere, second to none in anything except athletics.
From Eric Thunder Wolfu, no way he won't stick around. And thank you for that. And the chat room has been loaded up today. Thank you to John Kelly, great show. Thank you to Flyover State Fan, all of them, for all of you for being a part of it. Armstrong Sims, Jack McKenzie, Jack's over at the Baylor Football Media Session. That ought to be interesting today. Paul Catalina and Craig Smoak, thank you. Chat room, text room, phone calls, and our incredible sponsors every single day. You see some behind us on the graphics and logos, but there are so many more that every day allow us to launch this every single day since April the 6th of 2020. I'm David Smoak. Thank you so much. Have a great night, and we'll see you tomorrow at 3 on Sick on 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.